Numbers. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The job market appeared to hold up last week after a disappointing reading in July.
Fewer people filed for unemployment benefits last week. There were 233,000 new claims. The number is down 17,000 from the week before and weaker than expected, which is a sign employers continue to avoid large layoffs. There were more people remaining on benefits. Continuing claims rose 6,000, remaining over 1.8 million. This after the July employment report was weaker than expected. Signs of a cooling job market and concerns the Federal Reserve waited too long to lower interest rates contributed to fears of a global recession and the stock market selling off.
Fox's Ginny Casola. This is the average rate on a 30-year mortgage fell this week to below 6.5%, its lowest level in more than a year. That's according to mortgage buyer Freddie Mac. A seventh person has died as a result of Tropical Storm Debbie. The Wilson County, North Carolina Sheriff's Department says the man died in a tornado spawned by the storm. Debbie made a second landfall overnight in South Carolina, where this man in Huji says it's been raining heavily all week.
I'm not sure exactly how much rain we've had here. I'm assuming 12 to 15 inches. And that's why we've got water in the house.
The heavy rain in the Carolinas is expected to continue today. Then forecasters say it will head up the coast. Heavy rain expected to cause flooding across portions of the mid-Atlantic and Northeast through Saturday morning. Earth's hot streak is over, according to the European Climate Agency. It says the string of 13 straight months with a new average heat record ended in July as the El Nino patterns ended. Last month's average heat record just missed surpassing July 2023. But scientists say the end of the streak changes nothing about the threat caused by climate change. America's listening to Fox News.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline nasal spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
We are ahead of a secondary dry, cool front most of the afternoon, partly to mostly sunny skies. Because we're ahead of the front, we'll jump to about 86 degrees. Northwest flow gets reinforced tonight. Partly cloudy and cool, 62, and what a stretch. Friday and over the weekend. Friday, sunny and wonderful, 79. Saturday, sunny, 78. Sunday, sunny, 81. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Michael's Flooring Outlet online at igotfloored.com. You can start your floor shopping experience by visiting igotfloored.com right now. And you can even request an estimate right there on the website. All of the products that they carry are available for list. You can peruse the different finishes, the different colors. So you can really get a good idea when you walk into one of their 3 different locations across the St. Louis area to have a really good understanding of what you're looking for. But if online shopping isn't exactly your thing, visit one of the 3 stores in St. Louis, either in Dardenne Prairie, West County, on Olive Boulevard, a mile off 270 West on Olive, or in St. Charles County on Main Street in Old Town St. Peters at Mid Rivers and Highway 70. Go in there and say, we're looking to get rid of this dingy carpet that we have in our house, and we want to replace it with something fresh. And then maybe you want carpet, and they show you to the Mohawk Smart Strand line. Whatever you're looking for, you can put your trust in the people at Michael's Flooring Outlet to guide you to a product that's going to satisfy the quality you're looking for and the budget you're walking in with. All details online at igotfloored.com.
If you have a problem with the IRS, believe me, it's not going away on its own. The IRS never gives up. They have endless resources, so they control the game. Well, your tax problems can end. I'm attorney Lance Drury with the Drury Law Firm, a local tax resolution firm with an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau. I've handled thousands of IRS cases over the last 15 years. So when you hire me, you won't be speaking long distance or sending money to some TV pitchman that's riddled with consumer complaints. Your first visit is completely free and confidential, and I'll tell you on the spot exactly how much it will cost. So call me, Lance Drury, at 314-260-6120. That's 314-260-6120. Or go to Lance, D-R-U-R-Y, law.com. If you have IRS issues, you need a local attorney, you need me, Lance Drury.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Hey guys, Glover here with my very, very good friend, Dr. Kathy Maupin at BioBalanceHealth.com. If you have reached that certain age and you're just not feeling very well and nothing's working the way it used to work, go see Dr. Kathy. She is not only a medical doctor, she is a patient of this bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. It absolutely works. It's a long-term solution. She is an artist when it comes to helping you with your hormones. BioBalanceHealth.com for Dr. Kathy Maupin.
Don't let a cold, sinus infection, or allergies ruin your day. Breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier with Navage. Visit Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, or a store near you.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
Vice President Harris has not just done interview after interview over the years. She's been doing the job of vice president for more than 3.5 years. Tremendous chapter in her career after having been a district attorney in San Francisco, after having been attorney general for the state of California, after having served in the United States Senate longer than J.D. Vance has even been in office. All right, so let's be clear as to where the experience and the maturity lies. And she'll continue to do more interviews. You've got to cut her a little bit of slack for the last 3.5 weeks, an unprecedented way to become the nominee for the Democratic Party. She's assembled the delegates to become the presumptive nominee. She has quickly vetted and selected a tremendous running mate in Governor Walz. We're preparing for the Democratic Convention in Chicago, and she's stumping. She's doing the day job and stumping in all the critical battleground states. So we'll get to the media interviews soon enough.
Senator Padilla from California is like, give her a little bit of a break. She's really come to this nomination through unprecedented means. Oh, really? That's shocking to me. And she says, or he said something to the effect of like, kind of the shocking way with which she became the nominee. Like, who couldn't have seen that coming? I did. I'm sure she had an idea back when she was asked, oh, we did it, Joe. When she was asked if she would be the running mate for Joe Biden, you don't think she thought like, I might be the closest to becoming the president on day one that a vice president can be should we win this ticket. Ugh. Everybody sees it, and now we're being told that she needs a little time in order to get comfortable in the idea that she's the candidate she's the Democratic nominee for presidency. We need to give her some time. Heck no, we don't need to give her any time. You know who doesn't have any time left? People going to the grocery store right now who can't afford the groceries to put in their cart. That's who doesn't have any more time. They've been waiting 3.5 years for something better to come along. And they don't have any time left. You know who else doesn't have any time left? Parents across this country whose children made one single bad decision took one single pill that maybe they thought was going to help them stay up and study all night or something like that, and it ends up killing them because it's laced with fentanyl that's pouring over our southern border. Those people don't have any time left. And every single instance of fentanyl coming across the southern border is an affront to those people who lost their children, to feel like maybe those lives were lost in vain because the country's not doing anything to stop it from happening again. They don't have any more time. I bet you they don't have any more patience either. The Taylor Swift terror plot that was foiled the details of it are pretty awful, and you can imagine what that would look like. October 7th in Israel started with an attack on a concert. They were going to try to exact some sort of terrorist revenge at a Taylor Swift concert. Could that happen here in the United States? Could you be gleefully going to a concert that you've been waiting to go to for months? And could there be people here in the United States that are going to use that as an opportunity to mark a circle around a date so that when you say October 7th, everybody knows what you're referring to? When you say September 11th, everybody knows what you're referring to. Do we have any more time to wait for Kamala Harris to get comfortable so that she can answer to the American people? There's no time. She does not get to have that luxury. And as senator from California, I understand why you would maybe want to give her that time, because you fear the day that Donald Trump finds his way back to the Oval Office. And Kamala Harris in front of an interviewer that wants to practice actual journalism doesn't mean you have to be angry or aggressive. You know, the way they treated that initial reporter treated Donald Trump in the National Association of Black Journalists conference that they had. Doesn't have to be like that. You can ask very difficult questions and ask for clarifications or offer corrections if there's a journalistic factual way to push back on an answer that an interviewee gives. You can do all of that stuff in the name of journalism without being nasty at all. Can they do that to Kamala Harris? Can Kamala Harris handle it? If the answer is yes, then let's freaking go. Get her in a chair, one of those comfortable chairs. When they show the wide shot of these interviews where it's interviewer and interviewee, and then they show the wide shot, they're going to a commercial break, and it's a big open room, and they're sitting like knee to knee. I find that to be uncomfortable looking. I would not want to be in that. That would be the most intimidating part of that of that experience for me is we got a lot of space in this room. Let's stretch out a little bit. Let's just give each other some breathing room. We can talk. We can hear. Why are we so close? And then if you've ever noticed Donald Trump, especially when he feels comfortable with the interviewer, he leans forward, which is a total power move. Body language. Kamala Harris, watch Kamala Harris when she is in an interview. And Brad, can you think of a single interview that she's ever done? I'm trying to think through everything, like all the clips that I played. Honestly, until she was the official nominee, we have avoided playing her on the show.
We really have.
It's almost been like a top rule. Can you think of a single interview she's done that's been even remotely challenging?
The biggest challenge I can think of goes all the way back to, I think it was either 2021 or 2022, and it was
after they were elected.
After they were elected, it was Lester Holtz.
Oh, Holt.
You remember Holt? Yeah. When are you going to go to the border? We've been to the border. You haven't. Well, I haven't been to Europe either.
Yeah. Yeah. Lester Holt, man, she's really stretched her legs on that one.
Woo. Yeah, that's the only thing that comes to my mind as anything remotely challenging.
Bret Baier would be so fair.
Bret Baier, yes.
And you know that because I love when he's on X, and every once in a while he replies to a Twitter troll that's like, he'll do it back to back, where somebody's like, you're just in the bag for Trump. All you're trying to do is get Trump elected, blah, 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 blah. And then he says, actually XYZ, but thank you for watching. And then the next tweet is, you just hate Donald Trump and blah, blah, blah. You're just trying to make sure he doesn't get elected. And Fox called Arizona. Fox is calling Arizona for 2024, maybe 2028 already. I mean, it's like the pretty predictable reactions from people who were just there to troll, and he just retweets one or the other. So I've talked to Brett Baier before about this. He considers both accusations in full context to be somewhat of a compliment.
I would.
As a news guy.
Yes, if you're trying to be straight down the middle and you're trying to play it right, what you're going to end up doing is offending both sides. And if you get hate from both sides on it, you're doing what you're trying to do.
If your intention is to pursue truth, which is what real news journalism is supposed to be, then the truth, when exposed, is going to upset people. I know y'all listening have your own little hobbyist conspiracy theories that you like to dive into, a little bit over here, a little bit over there. You can always find a conspiracy theorist because the first thing they say is, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but, and then they tell you why they are. The lack of truth, the lack of just constant, unwavering, unfailing pursuit of truth. The end game, you might not ever get there. I mean, good journalism is perpetual. But the fact that we don't have that, and where you can find it, and I think Brett Baier is a perfect example of where you can find it, when it only comes from one outlet, I think Catherine Herridge is another perfect example of news reporting. Jennifer Griffin does a very good job. I'm sure that there are examples of people who do great reporting on other networks, but if it's politically disadvantageous, it doesn't make the cut. They're not going to dwell on it because at the end of the day, the ultimate goal is the political outcome, which means we have no truth. Kamala Harris needs time, according to Senator Padilla, to work things out to get settled. Folks, she should probably be the president of the United States right now. She probably should have been the president of the United States a long time ago. Israel is waiting for war with Iran. Israel is looking at Hamas. Israel is looking at Hezbollah. And we are Israel's greatest ally. At least I think we are. Still today on a Thursday. I hope that's the case. So we gotta be two eyes laser focused on what's going on over there. We are in a position in the United States right now to have our nearest and dearest ally on the brink of war. This is a congressional bill, and it was, I'm pulling this up on my phone right now. It was in a Senate bill, a Senate resolution, July 31st, 2024. It's a joint resolution filed by, I think it was Lindsey Graham was the leader of this. And I can share the link to this. But the entire point of this, Section 1, authorization for the use of military force against the Islamic Republic of Iran. The president is authorized to use all necessary and appropriate force against the Islamic Republic of Iran if the president determines that the Islamic Republic of Iran, 1, is in the process of processing a nuclear weapon that threatens the national security interests of the United States, or 2, possesses uranium enriched to weapons grade level, possesses a nuclear warhead, or possesses a delivery vehicle capable of carrying a nuclear warhead that threatens the national security interests of the United States. Section 2, War Powers Resolution Requirements, and it goes on to describe that. This is a Senate resolution that was filed July 31st, so we're talking like 9 days ago. This is happening right now. Joe Biden is nowhere to be found. He's going to Delaware shortly. Kamala Harris needs time to work into her role as the nominee for the Democrat Party to be the president. She should be the president right now if this Democrat Party was also interested in truth and honesty. And they're not, because it is all about power. If Kamala Harris continues to choose not to face the American people, the Republican Party and the Donald Trump campaign need to go hard on pushing every single problem that exists right now in this country that has fomented under the Biden-Harris administration and tag it right to her. The border, Kamala Harris. Grocery prices, Kamala Harris. Gas prices, Kamala Harris. Fentanyl, Kamala Harris. Global national security issues, Kamala Harris. Every single one. And listen, if they're wrong, she needs to show up and say something about it. She needs to be pressed on it. And here's the deal, folks. If you are somebody who is running for office and people are out there smearing your name and attacking you for things that you didn't do, you are dying to get to a camera and a microphone to correct the record. To make sure that everybody understands, no, this is what happened. Because you want to have your word on it. Of course, that only happens if what people are accusing her of, and absolutely needing to have the receipts to back it up, if the media reports on it. The reason Kamala Harris isn't doing interviews is because the media is not asking her to. Not truthfully looking to sit her down and get answers on behalf of you. Right now, they're working on behalf of Kamala. They are more interested in not putting Kamala Harris in a position to fail than they are in making sure that you have the position as a voter, a tax-paying citizen of the United States of America, to make the most educated decision that you can about who should lead this country come January 2025. They don't care about you. The efforts that need to be made going into this election in order to ensure that the victory for Donald Trump is too big to rig. I can't underscore enough that you have to get involved. You have to talk to people about the election. You have to have uncomfortable conversations or be willing to listen to people. You don't have to be forceful. You don't have to be angry. You don't have to be mean, but you do have to talk about it. You have to be willing to push back on the things that the media won't push back on for you. And if people in your life care about you, they should listen. If they don't care about you, if they care about some support for Kamala Harris, somebody who will never get to know them or understand them and just needs them in November. That's it. After that, we're good. If the people in your life care more about support for that than they care about even agreeing to disagree with you because you had a meaningful conversation, that's a moment to reflect upon as well. Kamala Harris has demanded respect at every turn that she has never earned from the American people. And she's going to try to sail that boat all the way through November 5th to Inauguration Day in January 2025. The media is not going to stand in front of you on behalf of you to get to the answers from Kamala Harris. They're not going to do it. And yes, I will shake fists at the sky, and I will be ticked off about it leading into the election, but I also at the same time don't expect it to change. We just have to double our efforts. And when I say we, I'm talking about you and me. We cannot rely on anybody else to do the job because they are more interested in power. I want to take a quick break. We got Tyrus a little bit earlier in the show today than usual. Why? Well, because Donald Trump, he's ready to talk to the media. Again, I've never really shied away from it to begin with. Donald Trump's going to have a press conference. It's scheduled for 1 o'clock our time, and we're going to carry it. So Tyrus is going to join us here a little bit earlier on the show. When we come back, don't go away.
Stop the run. You're listening to The Annie Fry Show on St. Louis's home for conservative talk. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
The Retirement Advisory Group, you know the folks at the Retirement Advisory Group, Bob and Tammy Kershaw, and of course, Thomas Helbig. These are your go-to folks. When you are reaching out to the Retirement Advisory Group and you are thinking, I really do need to make sure that retirement is right around the corner for me. I need to make sure that I got all my ducks in a row. You're going to be with the best people who are going to help you do exactly that. You can call them at 314-993-9494 and set up that appointment with Bob and Tammy Kershaw with Thomas Helbig and make sure that you can learn what they have to offer you. And they're going to learn about you as well through all of that. If you would like to know why the Retirement Advisory Group have clients that have never, ever, ever lost a penny with all the market losses whenever they occur, you need to set this appointment. You need to make this phone call. Just ring them at 314-993-9494. That's 314-993-9494 and tell them Annie sent you. Reach out to Bob and Tammy Kershaw and Thomas Helbig of the Retirement Advisory Group, retirementkey.com.
If you're considering new windows, there's nowhere else to go but Window World. Mark Cox here. My friends at Window World are doing something now they've never done before. That is offering up to 36 months interest-free financing for your purchase. So you get the great windows put in now, you get the energy efficiency, the great look, and then you have 36 months to pay for it. How about that? Window World has been around for a long time, and their reputation speaks for itself. They are highly rated in the Better Business Bureau and all of the rating agencies. They're big supporters of our St. Louis Blues. And here's the thing. If you mention you heard this on the Mark Cox Morning Show in 97.1, you're going to be entered in a drawing for 4 Blues tickets during the upcoming season. And that's great. They're going to pick a winner every month, and good luck to you. If you need new windows, I'm telling you, Window World is the way to go. 314-993-1800. That's 993-1800 or windowworldstlouis.com.
If you're thinking of selling your home, I'm sure there are 2 things you want: certainty and the most money, right? Hi, it's Mark Cox, and if you've been listening to me for some time, you know the only agent I trust is Gloria Liu with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, St. Louis real estate expert. Here's why she should be your first and only call when looking for an agent. Gloria doesn't make empty promises. No, she provides written guarantees. Now, what does this mean for you? Certainty. Now, certainty isn't the only thing you want. You also want the most money. Gloria is able to get her home sellers more money than the average agent because she already has the buyers. This is why Gloria will guarantee to sell your home at your agreed upon price, or she'll buy it. To get your guaranteed price, call St. Louis real estate expert Gloria Liu at 314-325-6888. That's 314-325-6888. Or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. That's GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
Conditions apply. Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
St. Louis City SC is advancing onto the knockout stage of Leagues Cup 2024. Get ready to cheer on City SC as they take on the Portland Timbers this Friday, August 9th at City Park. Tickets are on sale now at SeatGeek.com starting at just $25. Leagues Cup. 3 countries, 2 leagues, 1 champion.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Air Comfort Service is hiring licensed journeymen. Don't have a journeyman license? Air Comfort Service will help you get it. Get guaranteed hours year-round and more. Apply online at aircomfortservice.com.
The Focus Marines Foundation is here to help veterans transition from service to civilian life, and we're here to support them. This is Mark Cox inviting you to get involved in this month's Conservatives Care effort by visiting 971talk.com.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
Come with me now.
Follow Annie on Twitter at Annie Fry Show.
I promise you, when Kamala Harris does a press conference, people will feel very comfortable. She'll actually answer the questions she's asked. She won't wander off onto other subjects. She won't be attacking different groups of people. So I'm not at all concerned about the vice president's ability to handle a press conference.
You're becoming like my most stable relationship.
Enough said.
Yes, it's 12:30, but it is time for Tyrus. He's a regular on Gutfeld, Fox News contributor and host of Maintaining with Tyrus on Outkick. Tyrus, thanks for fitting us in a little bit earlier here. The president, former president, wants to have a press conference here at 1 o'clock our time, so we're grateful that you were coming here. What's that?
The mitigated goal.
Yeah, in your spot. I know. Doesn't he check the Annie Fry Show schedule before he makes his press conferences?
You think you know somebody.
Kamala Harris, she didn't have a press conference going on right now, and that was the mayor of Detroit saying that he has no problem thinking that Kamala is going to handle that okay. What's going to happen if Kamala Harris ever has one of these press conferences?
Oh, well, I mean, she's obviously going to have them. We already know we got a 3-year audition. Okay, so this isn't like what is she going to say? We know what she's going to say. Again, you go back to the point. The president, the guy above you, couldn't speak. Not because he didn't want to, because Father Time had decided that his time was up in that aspect of things in his life, and they still wouldn't let her speak. So whenever she was in charge of something, they pulled her off it. So we've seen this show before, and they're just trying to put new, under new management. It goes back to the same thing. We've all eaten at this restaurant. We've all gotten food poisoning, and now they put a sign up that says under new management, but it's the same cook. So I mean, it's just what it goes back to in this whole situation with her is we keep falling for it. When is she going to speak? We know that that's not how you run against President Trump. Biden has what they consider the successful blueprint. Lay low, let him say enough. Eventually he'll say something to torpedo himself, and then you run off that. He gave them an early gift with the whole falling for the trap question about whether she was black or not. So for a whole week, everyone talked about that ridiculousness. So those are the things that they will, and then she doesn't have to speak because then everyone comes running out screaming, "How dare you? How dare you?" Setting up these fake virtue signaling spots of racism and all the other cheap stuff to get everyone talking about everything else but what's really going on. So I think it's important that we understand that there's not going to be press conferences unless they absolutely have to have one. And they don't because they seem to think this worked before. The basement plan worked once, so they're going to continue to do it again.
Tyrus, I don't think that Kamala Harris in her entire career has ever been really super likable from the masses, but maybe the better alternative in an election. A lot of times we vote for the lesser of two evils. People are criticizing Donald Trump right now for not being out there enough in advertising and hoping his social media game gets a little bit better. Do you think that they're being intentionally quiet right now to let Kamala overexpose herself to people?
Yeah, I think that's smart. Again, anyone who says that, he was in court fighting for his freedom and coming out and doing press conferences every day. He's done rallies, literally. You know what? He might want to take a break, seeing how he just ducked a bullet 3 weeks ago.
Yes.
Just want to put that out there.
Exactly.
And he's continuing to do stuff like that, and his VP is out taking questions and doing the old school gaggle with the reporters on the road and stuff. So again, it's the question of Trump being out there is pathetic, and anyone who falls for that, because the man's on TV every day, whether he likes it or not.
Yeah.
Like he sneezed, you got 16 panels ready to tell you if it was a Hitler sneeze, was it a toxic male sneeze, was it a racist sneeze, or was it just a sneeze? So I don't think he needs to get out there more. I personally think the best ground game against someone who the turtle shell, what's with me and turtles, I don't know, but I guess the turtle shell campaign where they hide in their shell and they only come out when the coast is clear.
Yeah.
So they need Trump to be. They want him out there. They want him engaging. They want him to have. They send their pundits disguised as journalists to bait him and try to get him into gotcha moments, and they're only there to get a sound bite for the Kamala Harris team. So I mean, it's just we've seen it, and they played their game pretty well. I even feel like the Joe Biden debate. Now that when you look back on it, I was like, there's no way this guy. I said it over and over again. That Joe Biden going to debate with President Trump was probably a dumb move, but now that we look at it, I think it was a design move. They couldn't come out and get rid of him, and Trump destroyed him in the thing, and that gave him the fuel to replace him. So I think because if it would have happened when it was supposed to happen, we wouldn't have had this debate until probably October.
Yeah.
By then, it's too late. You're stuck.
Yeah.
So unknowingly, whether they did it on either they're geniuses or savants, one or the other, but Trump was able to do for them what they couldn't do with President Biden, and it changed the entire election. So I think we all need to kind of take a step back and be like, okay, so we need to stop questioning what are they going to do. We pretty much know what they're going to do. It's just how President Trump and J.D. Vance respond to it that's going to determine this election.
Kamala Harris is a lot more, out there in the last week or so, of course, with her pick for Vice President Tim Walz. And I just am curious about your thoughts. Take the Donald Trump factor out of it, if that's even a possible thing to do. But if Kamala, the more Kamala that America is consuming, does that mean people are going to like her more? Or do you think she's got a likability problem and the more people consume, the less they'll like her?
Well, both candidates, I would say, have a likability problem if we're just calling balls this here. I think this election is going to come down to people who believe in meritocracy, where the best man gets the job, where you work. America wants everyone to have the same opportunities, and if everyone is about lower taxes and taking care of their families and battling inflation, a strong border, and the other side is a socialist. So it's basically this is about as far a divide between two different sides of the Democratic and Republican Party we've probably ever seen. She's doubled down with her VP pick. Trump's doubled down with his VP pick. So America has a clear choice. There should be no one going, I'm confused. I don't know. We should not have any of those ridiculous segments on TV with the undecided voters come on the show and everyone, the guy in the tight red sweater who's like, oh, I don't know. Stop it.
I have to hear more.
I mean, it can't be any more. You have socialism, you have DEI on one side, and you have capitalism on the other. So we're just going to have to wait and see who America wants to be.
Yeah.
And it's going to, I think it's consequential in the terms of it's almost a cultural election in the terms of America's core belief systems, which the Republicans are continuing to support, or this new socialist Marxist Democratic administration, which is an oxymoron in itself, and see which side America wants to be. So it's going to be interesting to say the least.
Tyrus, I know this because I read Just Tyrus, your first book, and seen a couple of your shows. I know that you spent time in the Midwest, and so you kind of understand in a way that a lot of people don't. The West Coast, the East Coast, but also you have that extra advantage. I would say it's an advantage as a Midwesterner myself of knowing what the Midwest is like. And the way that Tim Walz has been, I'll just say, walked out to the American people, it's as if he's a golden retriever. And the way that the leftist media is talking about him, but really kind of appropriating Tim Walz's Midwesterness, it's like everybody's head patting and acting like it's real cute. And I'm wondering what you think about that Midwestern application of Tim Walz, maybe in the political advantage that it might lend them.
If you had pictures of him chopping wood in his backyard, if you had pictures of him driving a pickup truck to work, if you had pictures of him still farming while he's working in office, if you had stuff of him doing things that Midwesterners do, I always call it the dirt under the fingernails places because everyone does work there.
Yeah.
There's a work ethic there. You wouldn't say you're a hunter because you go ice fishing. You would have real things, butter sculpting. That's cute. That's stuff that tourists do when they come.
I do not
Midwest.
butter sculpt, and I'm as Midwest as it freaking gets. Yeah. Why is everybody talking about that? It's like a main key point of what Midwesterners do. It's so offensive.
You understand it's like the typical, you're trying to fluff your resume to impress.
Yeah, you're running out of things.
With no experience. Yeah, and you really for an example, if I was trying to impress my wife and I was like, I was trying to date her for the first time and I found out that she was spent her life in the Midwest and she was a hunter and grew up on a farm and stuff, and I started talking about, I took the egg home from school and I kept it in my and I took care of it. So, I like corn on the cob.
The question is, do you know the difference between sweet corn and feed corn?
I watched a couple Westerns, but not Midwesterns, but I'm kind of thinking it's the same thing. And, so that, I love the Midwest, and that would never happen. So again, if you have it, you never have to point out the obvious.
Right.
And if you're a Midwesterner, you don't have to point out the obvious. Can I see a picture of your house? Is there any wood? Is there any shaved wood in the house? Do you have a fire burned name of the family hanging from the doorstep? Do any of your extended family members sing in church? Because if those are Midwestern things.
My parents lead the music at our church. That's hilarious.
Thank you. Thank you. Know what I'm talking about here. Dropping cold here. I'm more Midwestern than he is, and it's just. But it just you should never have to point out the obvious, and to say that you shouldn't have to say you're a Midwesterner. You should just by the way you talk, the way you carry yourself, the way you vote. What is he doing for the farming community? I hope he's doing better than he did for the city because he just let it burn for 2.5 days.
No kidding.
So I think, again, and that's not very Midwestern either because Midwesterners, if someone's house was in trouble, the Midwest is known for communities coming with buckets of water. We've had where farmers have lost their farms to the bank and the whole city shows up and no one bids but the farmer. So that's what the Midwest is. And that he does not at least not showing any of those traits. Because another thing that's big out there is you're only as good as your word as far as men go in the Midwest. Like if a man without his word out there, if your handshake don't mean anything, you're going to have a rough existence because word travels fast in the Midwest. So I just feel like it was, but again, it's going to depend on what the people of the Midwest think who are living in, with Wisconsin, Nebraska, Missouri, and all those. We saw, Booker found out real quick. So, I mean, we're just going to see what happens. If you claim something and you're not it, then that should really affect your performance in those Midwest states. But, it just depends. Again, I don't even try to say he claims. I'm just saying it was easy. This stuff is easy to dispel. But is the average American who's working and worried about putting food on the table, watching this much news right now, or listening to much radio, that you don't know. So it's polar opposites. It's a yin and yang election. That's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, it's interesting as a Midwesterner to watch the East Coast media talk about the Midwest like we're animals at a zoo exhibit, and they're just very fascinated. They want a pet. They want a pet one. It's bizarre.
I don't like it because the pet one's going to make you do work. So.
Yeah, it's good until you got to do the work. That's right.
Everybody wants pie, so they got to make it.
Tyrus, thank you for being with us a little bit early. We always appreciate talking to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Tyrus has multiple books out. I was talking about Just Tyrus. He has been all over the country. He knows the country, and he's continuing to tour the country on his stand-up tour, which started right here with our audience at the Wildie in Edwardsville. He's continued to book city after city. And when I say city, I mean probably more like town. And he does multiple nights because they sell out. It's amazing. And really excited to be able to be a part of the ground floor of that. But you always see him on Gutfeld, of course. He's a Fox News contributor. You should get his latest book, Nuff Said, which is available right now. Let's take a quick break. Wiggins America, when we come back, he's going to give us some tips on how to get through the rest of this election season, according to NPR. So we'll see. Maybe this is the coming together point for us. Ryan Wiggins and Wiggins America next.
This is The Annie Fry Show. The Annie Fry Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
I speak with my heart and I move with my head. I open my mouth and it's something I've read. I stood at the door before I'm told, but a part of me knows that I'm growing too old. Confused what I thought with something I felt. Confused what I feel with something that's real. I tried to sell my soul last night. Funny, you wouldn't even take a bite.
The Diamond Shop, you find them in Clayton, and they've been in St. Louis since 1910. These people know what they're doing, and it really starts with the product, of course. When you go into the Diamond Shop and you see the beautiful pieces for men and women that they have in stock, you immediately go, okay, this is the place. And then when you start talking to the staff there, if you meet Tom and Mona and Nikki and all of the amazing helpers that they have there, sales folks that they have there to guide you through the process of making the perfect purchase, the one that fits your budget and is going to remind you of somebody special, or maybe it's a gift to somebody else. The Diamond Shop is there to make that that whole purchase exciting and something you're going to recommend to people after the fact. Right now, let's see, it's August 8th today through August 10th. They have a 50% off diamond bracelet sale. So you have to hurry there, but this is absolutely worth it. A beautiful diamond bracelet, 50% off. And a reminder, the Diamond Shop will do 6 months, same as cash financing. So hurry, get there today. You can learn all the details you need to online at thediamondshop.net.
More good news for Frederick Roofing, voted best roofing company by the St. Louis Post-Dispatch.
For a hole in your roof or a whole new roof, Frederick Roofing.
314-645-2000.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6986. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6986. That's 800-575-6986. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Today's poll is about Tim Walz. Does he represent Midwest values to you? Yes or no? It's today's YouTube live chat poll. Type in Annie Fry in YouTube, and the live stream will come up along with that poll question. You can answer it. 1246. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
It's what's happening
Hi, this is Tim.
It's Kamala Harris. Good morning, Governor.
right now.
Tim Walz's record is a joke.
Keeping you informed.
A path to victory in November is the #1 priority.
And up to date. 97.
When you kiss me like this, when you hold me like that.
Yeah, who am I singing this to?
It was so long ago, but it's all coming back to me now when you were 9. Man, I think there's a lawsuit coming after this.
It was like Christmas choirs and stuff. Didn't really fit. Never really understood it, but man, I had the voice of an angel. So that's what got me here.
The Lips of an Angel. Isn't that a Creed song or something like that?
Lips of an Angel?
Yeah.
No.
I'll Google it while you do
Closest
Wiggins
thing I
America.
can think of is Red Hot Chili Peppers, Suck My Kiss. Let's talk about...
I got nothing. Hinder?
No, I don't know. Let's talk about how to manage election anxiety.
I have Wiggins America anxiety right now.
This is according to NPR, so you know the source. It says months away from the U.S. presidential election, 73% of respondents in a poll by the American Psychiatric Association say they are feeling anxious about the election. We can all agree with that, right? I mean, that's not way off.
Well, the interesting thing, well, yes, it's a fair statement, but I would say that the election is a smaller circle in a broader circle that is like the direction of this country and the turmoil at the border that's flooded into our states, and the Middle East is like maybe dabbling in nuclear war. So the election is a huge point in these much bigger concerns.
Yeah, economic. I mean, it's like there's a spotlight on those things more now than ever.
It's not like after the election, even if your candidate won, that all of those anxieties are going to go away.
No, although some of those issues might be solved better than others.
That's for sure.
It says that it's important to pay attention to those feelings, Annie. I'm glad we've been talking about feelings a lot.
I've been saying.
You were talking about men's feelings. I noticed that you were very specific about only bringing up male emotions.
It was literally from the article that I was reading.
Yeah.
It wasn't like just my thoughts on the issue.
It's important to pay attention to those feelings, especially stress, says psychologist Lynn Buffka.
Yeah, I bet a psychologist wants you to pay attention to your stress. Maybe even take some therapy sessions.
Yeah, he might. And he would get an article written about him, too. Deputy Chief of Professional Practice at the American Psychological Association. So they are suggesting that there are a handful of ways that you should deal with this election stress. And I want to see whether or not these are things that you are partaking in or whether you think you should. Number one, the first thing you should do is understand what's fueling your symptoms. It's the uncertainty.
No, it's definitely Kamala Harris right now. It's got a name.
It's the uncertainty of what Kamala Harris might bring. The article
we know what she's going to do.
No, the article doesn't say anything about any particular candidate, but it does say that uncertainty is a breeding ground for anxiety and fear. I understand this. It says, how do you deal with it then? You shouldn't ask questions like, what is the worst thing that could happen? You should ask questions like, how likely is it that the worst case scenario happens? In this case, it seems about 50-50.
Yeah, it's not feeling really great.
It's not, but that's the first one, is they say instead of asking yourself what's the worst thing that could happen.
Chris on YouTube says, this sounds like an article on how to deal with TDS, and I did say it was from NPR.
Yeah, and it might be. Another one here is, now, some of these are okay. Other ones I'm like, I don't know. Do things that are meaningful to you.
Oh, unlike what I normally do every day, which is just useless.
Wake up, walk in circles, fall down. No, don't do that. Do things that are meaningful to you. That could involve connecting with other people on issues you care about and working toward a cause. Or it might involve making sure that your older parents have a good meal tonight.
How many syllables in the words toward?
2.
That's definitely how you said it.
What do you do?
I don't know. It's kind of like a slurred 1.5.
Yeah,
do you say
1.5 is.
It's almost like
toward.
TORD. You
say turd.
No, I don't. It would be like TORD, toward.
Brad?
Same.
Tiebreaker?
Toward.
1.5?
Yeah, 1.5-ish.
Because you said toward.
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 Yeah, toward. I always do.
Okay. I bet others might.
There are probably a lot of folks that hitting all the buttons today.
Right,
I don't know all the folks.
And ancient. I still do this. I do this to my
ancient
wife.
folks toward the future.
Yeah. I do this totally off point here, but anytime I see the words ancient grains printed anywhere, I will, at least in my head, sometimes out loud go, ancient grains. And my wife thinks it's the funniest thing I do.
I think you're perfect for each other. She is wonderful.
In that case, you need to keep doing it.
The next one, ways to deal with election anxiety, is to. I'm sorry.
Get it together.
I'm sorry.
Get it together.
I'm going to read it as it's written.
Okay.
Find other ways to cope.
NPR is killing it.
This is the American Psychological Association.
What would we ever do without them?
Find other ways to cope. Thank you very much.
Find other than what?
It doesn't say, but
Just
it will
like
give you some examples.
Panic?
Yeah, don't panic and scream. Don't pull your hair out.
No, I think that might be the other ways.
Do other things. That includes doing things that bring you joy and keep you in the present moment.
Have the people reading this article, especially if it was an article focused towards TDSers, have they never considered that?
Well, if you have never considered it, now you are. The leftists who listen to us are like, holy smokes.
George wants you to say Cool Whip.
Why?
Just say it.
Cool Whip.
All right.
It's not whip. Is that what you're looking for? No, I don't do that.
Cool Whip.
Huygens America.
Is that the refined version?
Yeah. It's Huygens America. Yesterday it would have been on a Wednesday. The last one. I got her pretty good, you guys. If you're not watching the live stream, now's the time.
It wasn't.
I think some liquid came out of your nose.
A little bit, maybe, but it was more about the timing, not the gravity of the joke.
It's just great, and it's great because we have so few times that you can grab a drink in talk radio.
I'm trying.
That when you do it, and I just hit you at that moment.
Yeah, thanks.
It's great.
Forget hydration.
Last one. Stay socially connected. It seems fairly obvious, but
don't isolate and seek out ways to cope.
Yeah, don't socially isolate. Like if you have a chance to go be a part of things.
Like a protest?
Don't like, you know what would help is if they don't shut down all of society, in the last few years. As multiple studies have shown, social isolation
They probably wrote this article 6 years ago and they're like, shelf it.
Whoops.
Put it on the shelf.
Social isolation is bad for our mental and physical health. It is particularly harmful for our mental health. Stay connected with friends, family, peers, and other support.
Ender says touch grass.
Go touch grass.
Yeah.
It's ironic to me that the touch grass phrase would definitely come off of people on.
Beautifies the house, and it protects it from the harshest elements. And boy, do we see those here in the greater St. Louis area. You get instant curb appeal. It will stick to anything. Rhino Shield is the answer, no matter whether you're painting a home or a church or a business or a condo, because it's 100% waterproof. It takes care of the outdoor maintenance on whatever is on the outside of your home. The brick, the block, aluminum, steel, stucco. They can put this on with the 2 to 3 coat process. They're there about a week, and they do a great job. A lot of businesses have done it in the area. Several Firestones have done that. Vantage Credit Union over the years. Harlan Packaging down in DeSoto. Call Darren today and schedule your free estimate. 877-25-RHINO. Easy to remember phone number. Or go online today at 877-25-RHINO.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group. Are you worried about market volatility in this election year? Are you concerned your money won't last you through retirement?
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw, and as a family-owned business, we are committed to protecting your retirement, whether you're nearing retirement or already retired. We have a lot of folks that aren't aware of all the new investment choices that are available, which give you growth and protection from losses at the same time. Are you aware of all the fees that you are currently paying? We can show you how to avoid those fees. So come in now for your free retirement review and get a second opinion on your retirement plan. And just for coming in, you'll get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. Let us show you how to retire with confidence.
We are proud to say we haven't lost a penny of our clients' money in 38 years, and we won't lose a penny of yours either. Let our family help your family. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
I was having a lot of sinus infections. My sinuses were clogged, pressure, headaches.
Linda suffered for years with chronic sinus infections.
You don't feel like doing anything. When you feel like your head is completely clogged, all you want to do is just lay down and sleep. And the pressure, it's just not fun, always walking around with a headache.
Now, her issues are gone. How? A minimally invasive procedure done in the office of St. Louis Sinus Centers called balloon sinuplasty.
I really did not know what it was like to feel like you're really breathing and not being so clogged up. I would do it again in a heartbeat, and I would definitely recommend it for someone else.
Do you suffer with chronic sinus infections, facial pain, pressure, congestion? Find out if balloon sinuplasty is the solution for you. Set an appointment today with St. Louis Sinus Centers. Call 314-332-2885. 314-332-2885. That's 314-332-2885.
KFTK FM Florissant. From the Under Law Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studio.
That's GetJim.com.
97.1 FM Talk. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Campaigns in full swing. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. With less than 3 months until Election Day, former President Trump set to hold a news conference this hour at his Mar-a-Lago resort. His Democratic opponent, Vice President Kamala Harris, will campaign in Michigan today. This, as a new poll shows, more Americans feel democracy hangs in the balance in this election.
The AP Nork Center for Public Affairs research poll indicates about 60% of adults surveyed feel democracy may be at risk, depending on who wins the general election. The remaining 40% are split. 20% think democracy can weather the election result, and the other 20% say democracy is already broken. Among other poll results, men more than women likely believe democracy can survive the election outcome. As for the overall importance of November 5th, nearly half, 49% of adults 45 and older say it's extremely important, while 40% of younger adults feel the same.
Fox's Gernal Scott. Investigators in Austria say both suspects in a foiled plot to attack a Taylor Swift concert in Vienna appeared to be inspired by ISIS and Al-Qaeda, and they say bomb-making materials were found in one of their homes. The main suspect is a 19-year-old Austrian who authorities say began working on his plans last month. The other suspect is a 17-year-old who has Turkish and Croatian roots.
The plot, according to police, was for the attacker or attackers to mill with a crowd of some 15,000 that were set to gather outside of the stadium to listen to the music, to kill as many people as possible before killing themselves, even using a car filled with explosives to be driven into the crowd.
Fox's Greg Palcon. In London, the Austrian concerts were canceled. Officials in London, where Swift will be next week, are allowing the shows to go on as scheduled. America is listening to Fox News.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline nasal spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
We are ahead of a secondary dry, cool front most of the afternoon, partly to mostly sunny skies. Because we're ahead of the front, we'll jump to about 86 degrees. Northwest flow gets reinforced tonight. Partly cloudy and cool, 62, and what a stretch. Friday and over the weekend. Friday, sunny and wonderful, 79. Saturday, sunny, 78. Sunday, sunny, 81. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
I want to talk to you about Window World and how you're shopping for perfect replacement windows for your home. Whether you've looked other places, make sure that Window World is on your list of businesses to check out. You'll be glad that you did. They are offering up to 36 months financing right now. And when you get same as cash financing up to 36 months with approved credit with Window World, that makes your project a lot more accessible. Window World understands doing business with St. Louisans. They are St. Louisans themselves. When you call the number 314-993-1800, or you just visit them online at windowworldstlouis.com and see the beautiful windows that they have available for you to shop around with. Also, if you're interested in getting windows in your home, if you've been thinking about doing replacement windows and you just want to get a free estimate just to kind of gauge where you might be, make sure that when you call 314-993-1800, 314-993-1800, or you set up an appointment through windowworldstlouis.com, that you mention the Annie Fry Show, because you'll be entered into a drawing for 4 St. Louis Blues tickets that Window World is giving away. Mention the Annie Fry Show when you call 314-993-1800 and visit them online at windowworldstlouis.com.
If you have a problem with the IRS, believe me, it's not going away on its own. The IRS never gives up. They have endless resources, so they control the game. Well, your tax problems can end. I'm attorney Lance Drury with the Drury Law Firm, a local tax resolution firm with an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau. I've handled thousands of IRS cases over the last 15 years. So when you hire me, you won't be speaking long distance or sending money to some TV pitchman that's riddled with consumer complaints. Your first visit is completely free and confidential, and I'll tell you on the spot exactly how much it will cost. So call me, Lance Drury, at 314-260-6120. That's 314-260-6120. Or go to Lance, D-R-U-R-Y, law.com. If you have IRS issues, you need a local attorney. You need me, Lance Drury.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
At Odyssey, we believe in casting a wide net to create a diverse and inclusive workforce, as we value the power of community and encourage local organizations to help us in referring qualified applicants to our stations. If you're a community organization interested in receiving our vacancy information, simply email equalemployment@odyssey.com. You'll be directly notified of our open positions. Again, that's equalemployment@odyssey.com. And for our listeners, we invite you to visit odysseyinc.com/careers. There, you'll find an online listing of job openings at all Odyssey radio stations.
Leagues Cup 2024 is here. Cheer on City SC as they take on the Portland Timbers this Friday, August 9th at City Park. Tickets are on sale now at SeatGeek.com, starting at just $25.
97.1 FM Talk. You're here, and so are St. Louis's conservative thought leaders. St. Louis's home for conservative talk. 97.1 FM Talk.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart. Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio. I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
Welcome back to the Annie Fry Show. We are awaiting Donald Trump's press conference. They made an announcement that they were going to be holding a press conference from Mar-a-Lago, and so we are going to listen to that when it does begin. I wanted to play this clip because I got Ryan and Brad in here right now as well. The whole thing around how Tim Walz, VP pick, Minnesota governor, is a great depiction of what Midwestern values are. It's really kind of been interesting to me. So that's the YouTube live chat poll. It has to do with that, but looks like Donald Trump is starting to speak. Let's listen in.
Both gangs on the street and, frankly, gangs outside of our country in the form of other countries that are, frankly, very powerful. They're very powerful countries, and we don't know what we're doing. We have leadership that has no clue how to handle them or how to handle any other situation. We have a we have a lot of bad things coming up. You could end up in a depression of the 1929 variety, which would be a devastating thing. Took many years, took decades to recover from it. And we're very close to that, and we're very close to a world war. In my opinion, we're very close to a world war. We have people that don't know how to handle it. They're not respected. All over the world, they're laughed at. And we can't have that. Most dangerous period of time I've ever seen for our country. With that being said, we have somebody that hasn't received one vote for president, and she's running, and that's fine with me. But we were given Joe Biden, and now we're given somebody else. And I think, frankly, I'd rather be running against the somebody else. But that was their choice. They decided to do that because Kamala's record is horrible. She's a radical left person at a level that nobody's seen. She picked a radical left man that is, he's got things done that he has positions that are just not, it's not even possible to believe that they exist. He's going for things that nobody's ever even heard of. Heavy into the transgender world, heavy into lots of different worlds having to do with safety. He doesn't want to have borders. He doesn't want to have walls. He doesn't want to have any form of safety for our country. He doesn't mind people coming in from prisons, and neither does she, I guess, because she's not, she couldn't care less. She's the border czar. By the way, she was the border czar 100%. And all of a sudden, for the last few weeks, she's not the border czar anymore, like nobody ever said it. And I just hope that the media becomes more diligent, more honest, frankly, because if they're not going to be honest, it's going to be much tougher to bring our country back. We have a very, very sick country right now. You saw the other day with the stock market crashing. That was just the beginning. That was just the beginning. It's going to get worse. It's going to get a lot worse, in my opinion. And fortunately, we've had some very good polls over the last fairly short period of time. Rasmussen came out today. We're substantially leading, and others came out today that we're leading, and in some cases substantially. I guess MSNBC came out, or CNBC came out also with a poll that was, has us leading. And leading fairly big in swing states. In some polls, I'm leading very big in swing states because they want safety. People want safety. They want security. They want respect all around the world for our country. They don't want this horrible culture that is developing, a culture of no common sense. It's really a culture of no common sense, and it's not what anyone wants. We want to have a safe country. We want to have a strong military. We want low interest rates, and we want to be able to have the American dream. We want to be able to have our youth be able to buy homes, housing, get good jobs. And we're really just at the opposite right now. It's so sad to see. But as a border czar, she's been the worst border czar in history, in the world history. I think the number is 20 million, but whether it's 15 or 20, it's numbers that nobody's ever heard before. 20 million people came over the border during the Biden-Harris administration. 20 million people, and it could be very much higher than that. Nobody really knows what the number is. Nobody knows. Nobody has a clue. And the gotaways, they call them the gotaways. The gotaways are at numbers. Somebody was quizzing me on it the other day. No, I don't think so, sir. I don't think so. They have no idea what those numbers are, but they're much higher than you would think. Just like far more people were killed in the Ukraine-Russia war than you ever report. Just like the October 7th would have never happened. Russia would have never hit Ukraine had the election result been called differently. It was a very bad call, but Russia would not have attacked Ukraine. October 7th in Israel would have never happened. You wouldn't have inflation. A lot of great things would have happened, but now you have millions and millions of dead people, and you have people dying financially because they can't buy bacon, they can't buy food, they can't buy groceries, they can't do anything. And they're living horribly in our country right now. With all of that being said, I think it's very important to have debates, and we've agreed with Fox on a date of September 4th. We've agreed with NBC, fairly full agreement, subject to them, on September 10th. And we've agreed with ABC on September 25th. So we have those three dates, and those networks, they're very anxiously awaiting that date and those dates. So we have September 4th, September 10th, and September 25th. We have spoken to the heads of the network, and it's all been confirmed, other than some fairly minor details. Audience, some location, which city would we put it into, but all things that will be settled very easily, I think it'll be very easy. The other side has to agree to the terms. They may or may not agree. I don't know if they're going to agree. She hasn't done an interview. She can't do an interview. She's barely competent, and she can't do an interview. But I look forward to the debates because I think we have to set the record straight. Why is it that millions of people were allowed to come into our country from prisons, from jails, from mental institutions, insane asylums, even insane asylums? It's a mental institution on steroids. That's what it is. When you see the people that are coming into these are institutions that are being emptied out, not in South America, all over the world, including South America, all over the world. Prisons are being emptied out into our country because we have a president that's the worst president in the history of our country. We have a vice president who is the least admired, least respected, and the worst vice president in the history of our country. The most unpopular vice president, and because of political reasons or because of being politically correct, even though she never received a vote. Don't forget, she was the first one defeated, as I remember it, because I watched it very closely, but she was the first one. She never made it to Iowa, the first state. She never made it to Iowa. She was the first one that was defeated. She was the nastiest to him. She was nasty with calling him a racist and the school bus and all of the different things. She was very nasty to Biden. And shockingly, he appointed her, asked her to serve as vice president. Well, I don't know if he's happy about that decision right now. This was taken away. The presidency was taken away from Joe Biden. And I'm no Biden fan, but I'll tell you what, from a constitutional standpoint, from any standpoint you look at, they took the presidency away. And people were saying he lost after the debate. He couldn't win. Well, I don't know that that's true necessarily. But whether he could win or he couldn't win, he had the right to run. And they took it away. They said they're going to use the 25th Amendment. They're going to hit you hard. Either we can do it the nice. I know exactly, because I know a lot of people on the other side, believe it or not. And they said, we'll do it the nice way, or we'll do it the hard way. And he said, all right. So that, I mean, they've really taken, what they've done is pretty incredible. And now I'm running against somebody else, and we're leading. We're leading. So I'm not complaining. I'm saying it's for a country with a constitution that we cherish. We cherish this constitution. To have done it this way is pretty severe, pretty horrible. You would have thought they would have gone out to a vote. They would have had a primary system. They would have done something. But to just take it away from him like he was a child. And he's a very angry man right now, I can tell you that. He's not happy with Obama, and he's not happy with Nancy Pelosi, crazy Nancy. She is crazy, too. She's not happy with any of the people that told him that you've got to leave. He's very unhappy, very angry, and I think he also blames her. He's trying to put up a good face, but it's a very bad thing in terms of a country when you do that. I'm not a fan of his, as you probably have noticed, and he had a rough debate, but that doesn't mean that you just take it away like that. Or you go out to a vote, you do something. He had 14 million votes. She had no votes. She got no votes. And I think she's crashing. I think when people find out, and I think people are starting to find out what a bad job she did, what a bad job she did on the border. She's trying to say she had nothing to do with the border. She had everything. She was appointed to head the border. And then they said, border czar, oh, she loved that name, she loved that name, but she never went there. She went to a location once along the border, but that was a location that you would love to go and have dinner with your husband or whoever. That was a location that was not part of the problem. That was not really going to the border. So essentially, she never went to the border. And if you listen to Tom Homan, if you listen to the great border people, Brandon Judd from Border Patrol, if you listen to Paul, I mean, so many different people. I speak to them all the time. And I did when I was president. We had the best border in the history of our country. Now we have the worst border in the history of the world. Millions of people coming in, and our country cannot sustain it. Our country is going down. because of this, because of incompetent people. So I just look forward to these debates. I think it's very important that we have them. I hope she agrees to them September 4th, September 10th, September 25th. And I think they'll be very revealing. I think they'll be very revealing. Do you have any questions, please?
How have you recalibrated your strategy to compete against Harris?
I haven't recalibrated strategy at all. It's the same policies, open borders, weak on crime. I think she's worse than Biden because he got forced into the position. She was there long before. She destroyed San Francisco. She destroyed California as the AG. But as the DA, she destroyed San Francisco. A friend of mine, Bob Tisch, all know the Tisch family. He was in many cities with companies. He said the greatest city in the country is San Francisco. That was about 20 years ago. And he passed away a while ago, and he would be looking down and said, what happened? He thought it was the best city in the country. He had divisions there, lows. And he would be looking down in horror now when he sees she destroyed no cash bail, weak on crime. She's terrible. And yet they weaponized the system against me. They have me. I got so many lawyers. Now they want to delay cases. I won the big case in Florida. I won the big case. Nobody even wrote about it. The big case, the judge was a brilliant judge. And all they do is they play the ref with the judges. But this judge was a fair but brilliant judge. And as you probably heard, the big documents case, I won it. Now, Biden lost it because he didn't have presidential immunity. He didn't have the Presidential Records Act. He lost it. But the special, I call it prosecutor, special counsel, special prosecutor to me, he, appointed by him and appointed by Garland, he said the man's incompetent. He can't stand trial, but he can run for president. But we no longer have to worry about that because we have somebody that, in my opinion, is more incompetent. She couldn't pass her bar exam and lots of other things. And she should not be in a position because if she becomes president, our country is going to be a giant fail. It's going to fail. It's going to be a failure the likes of which this world has never seen. Yeah, please. No, how about you? You have to speak louder.
A big part of the strategy for your campaign before Harris became the nominee was appealing to black voters. That was something you were really going after. In polls, we really see Harris gain ground with that group. And I'm wondering how you are going to go after black voters now that she's the nominee and really winning them over.
Well, it changes around a little bit. I'm getting other voters. Perhaps, I was doing very well with black voters, and I still am. I seem to be doing very well with black males. This is according to polls, as you know. It's possible that I won't do as well with black women, but I do seem to be doing very well with other segments, extremely well with Hispanic. Jewish voters way up. White males way up. White males have gone through the roof. White males way up. Now, I don't know. All we're doing is giving you the stats that you have. It could be that I'll be affected somewhat with black females where we're doing pretty well. And I think ultimately they'll like me better because I'm going to give them security, safety, and jobs. I'm going to give them a good economy. We have a very bad economy right now. We could literally be on the throes of a depression, not recession, a depression. And they can't have that. They can't have that. So I think I'm going to do well with everybody, especially when the facts are right. Yeah, please, in the back.
You're now leading with Jewish voters in your home state of New York. With that being said, what do you make of Kamala Harris not picking Josh Shapiro as her VP?
Well, I don't know. I know Josh Shapiro. He's a terrible guy, and he's not very popular with anybody. I think that this election maybe is better than Josh Shapiro would have been. But I think other than Josh Shapiro, I think she had some good choices. But Josh Shapiro is not one of them. He's caused a lot of damage with a lot of people. And I don't think he would have been better. I think he would have been maybe the equivalent, maybe not as good. But they had some people that they were looking at that were good, far superior to her. They actually had a story where they had everybody, including, they had like 10 people that she was looking at, and her. And they said she was the worst of all. In other words, she was the worst out of the 10 people and her.
Mr. President. Tyrus only agrees to the ABC debate. Would you be willing just to do that one debate?
I don't know how that's going to work out. We'd like to do 3 debates. We think we should do 3 debates. We think Fox and ABC. And we also have CBS is going to do the vice presidential debate. So CBS will do vice presidential. And I have to tell you, J.D. Vance has really stepped up. He's doing a fantastic job.
Mr. President.
Say.
Are you worried at all about the size of Harris's crowds?
Oh, give me a break. Listen, I had 107,000 people in New Jersey. You didn't report it. I'm so glad you asked. What did she have yesterday? 2,000 people? If I ever had 2,000 people, you'd say my campaign is finished. It's so dishonest, the press. And here's a great example. I had in Michigan recently 25,000 people, and 25,000 people we just couldn't get them in. We had in Harrisburg 25,000 people, and 20,000 people couldn't get in. We had so many. Nobody ever mentions that. When she gets 1,500 people, and I saw it yesterday on ABC, which they said, oh, the crowd was so big. I have 10 times, 20 times, 30 times the crowd size. And no, they never say the crowd was big. That's why I'm always saying turn around the cameras. I'm so glad you asked that. I think it's so terrible when you say, well, she has 1,500 people, 1,000 people, and they talk about, oh, the enthusiasm. Let me tell you, we have the enthusiasm. The Republican Party, and me as a candidate, but the Republican Party has the enthusiasm because people want to see crime stopped. They want to see a country that's respected. Think of it. If I were president, you wouldn't have Russia and Ukraine, where it never happened, 0 chance. You wouldn't have had October 7th of Israel. You wouldn't have the horrible withdrawal. And I don't mean the withdrawal, because the withdrawal was fine. I was ready to withdraw from Afghanistan, and we were going to do it with dignity and strength. And we were keeping our equipment. We weren't leaving $85 billion worth of equipment behind. And we wouldn't have had 13 great soldiers. I know the families of those soldiers well. We wouldn't have had these soldiers killed. And we wouldn't have had 45 soldiers obliterated. No legs, no arms, the face. None of that would have happened. And you wouldn't have had inflation. You wouldn't have had any inflation, because inflation was caused by their bad energy problems. Now they've gone back to the Trump thing because they need the votes. I don't know if you know, they're drilling now because they had to go back because gasoline was going up to $7, $8, $9 a barrel. So they said, we better do what Trump. But the day after the election, if they won, you're going to have fuel prices go through the roof. Everybody's going to be forced to buy an electric car, which they're not going to do because they don't want that. It's got a great market. It's got a market. It's really a sub-market. People want gasoline-propelled cars. They want hybrids. They want to have everything, and they want electric. But they want everybody to have an electric car. We don't have enough electricity. We couldn't make enough electricity for that. And you know what else? The weight of a car, the weight of a truck. They want all trucks to be electric. Little things that a lot of people don't talk about. The weight of a truck is 2.5 times heavier. You would have to rebuild every bridge in this country if you were going to do this ridiculous policy. So, but on crowd size, in history, for any country, nobody's had crowds like I have, and you know that. And when she gets 1,000 people and everybody starts jumping, you know that if I had 1,000 people would say, that's the end of his campaign. I have hundreds of thousands of people. In South Carolina, I had 88,000 people. In Alabama, I had 68,000 people. Nobody says about crowd size with me. But she has 1,000 people or 1,500 people, and they say, oh, the enthusiasm's back. No. The enthusiasm is with me and the Republican Party because they want to stop crime. They want to stop people from pouring into our country from places unknown and from countries unknown, from countries that nobody ever heard of. That's where the enthusiasm is.
Mr. President.
2 questions, if I can. Thank you, sir. Your campaign is targeting Pennsylvania and Georgia, and if you get those 2, you could seal the deal. That's what they say. How important is it to you, and is it salvageable for you to be able to repair the relationship with Governor Kemp in Georgia?
I don't know if I can or not. I got him elected. Without me, he wouldn't be governor. I got him elected. He was doing terribly. I got him elected. With that being said, I hope we can repair it, but if we don't, the people are still the people, and they're going to vote. We're leading in Georgia by a lot. We're leading in Pennsylvania by a lot. So, but I don't know. Now, in Pennsylvania, I have great relationships. In Georgia, I do too, but unfortunately not with the governor. I've never understood it. When you get somebody elected, they're supposed to like you. He's not exactly, for some reason, and you'll have to ask him about that. Yeah, I'd love to see it get repaired. I think that if we don't win Georgia, Georgia is a big win, is a big state. So I won Alabama by a record. Nobody's ever gotten that many votes. I won South Carolina by a record. You don't win Alabama and South Carolina by records and lose Georgia. It doesn't happen. And the people of Georgia understand that. There was tremendous anxiety and problems in Georgia. A lot of people say, what happened? And we have to, all we want is honest elections. If we have honest elections in Georgia, we have honest elections in Pennsylvania, we're going to win them by a lot.
And then can you just respond to President Biden basically saying that he doesn't think, or he fears, that there wouldn't be a peaceful transfer of power if you lose this election?
Well, he actually said it two ways. First, he said it incorrectly, then he corrected himself. Do you agree with that, right? You know, if you watch him. He said it two ways.
I don't have a comment, but I'm asking you for your comment.
I mean, he said it two ways because he doesn't really know what he said. Why didn't he bring it up at the debate? You know, he had a chance for 90 minutes to bring it up at the debate. He could have talked about that at the debate, and he didn't do it. Everyone said, oh, he said this and he said that. He's just, you know, they give him something to read off. He read it very badly because he actually said it the opposite. Then he had to go back and correct himself. He said the opposite. He should have brought this up at the debate. If he had a problem, of course there'll be a peaceful transfer. And there was last time, and there'll be a peaceful transfer. I just hope we're going to have honest elections. That's all. Okay?
Mr. President, you have not had a public campaign event for nearly a week now. Tomorrow you'll be in Montana, which is not a swing state. Some of your allies have expressed concern that you're not taking this race seriously, particularly at a time where there is enthusiasm on the other side. Why haven't you been campaigning this week?
Because I'm leading by a lot, and because I'm letting their convention go through. And I am campaigning a lot. I'm doing tremendous amounts of taping here. We have commercials that are at a level I don't think that anybody's ever done before. Plus, in certain cases, I see many of you in the room where I'm speaking to you on phones, I'm speaking to radio, I'm speaking to television. Television's coming over here. Excuse me, what are we doing right now? She's not doing any news conference. You know why she's not doing it? Because she can't do a news conference. She doesn't know how to do a news conference. She's not smart enough to do a news conference. And I'm sorry, we need smart people to lead this country because our country's never been in this danger before, both economically and from an outside perspective. Russia doesn't respect us anymore. China doesn't respect us anymore. North Korea, Kim Jong-un, liked me a lot. He doesn't like this group. We are in great danger. We're in great danger of being in World War III. That could happen. No, after their convention, yeah. And I'm going out. Actually, I'm going out to certain places to help certain senators get elected. Not even for me. I'm trying to help when I go out to Wyoming or when I go out to Montana, or I'm going to different places to help people. And I don't have to go there because I'm leading those states, as you know, by 35, 40, 50 points. I'm leading by record numbers. I'm going because I want to help senators and congressmen get elected. Congressmen and women get elected. Yes, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. President, can you tell us a bit more about your upcoming interview with Elon Musk this Monday?
Upcoming what?
Interview with Elon Musk on Monday. And also there are reports now saying that the Chinese Communist Party is trying to use the American social media platforms to spread its propaganda. What do you think social media companies should do?
Yeah, the Elon Musk. So, yeah, sure. So Elon called me. As you know, he endorsed me full-throated. Great endorsement. I respect Elon a lot. He respects me. And not easy for him to endorse, to be honest with you. You know, it takes courage to endorse people. Many people have courage and many people don't. He does have courage. And Elon endorsed me, and he asked me whether or not I'd do a show on Monday, and I think it's going to be Monday night. And I believe he's the host of the show. So it'll be very interesting. A lot of people are talking about it. I look forward to it. That'll be done on Monday night.
Second question, what do you think social media companies in America should do to combat potentially misinformation spread by the Chinese regime?
Well, you have a lot of misinformation spread about China. and you have a lot of misinformation spread about a lot of different places. I think I'm going to get along great with China. President Xi of China and I were very good friends. We met right here, right in that, except we had a beautiful sofa there, as opposed to what we have right now. Right now we have you. But President Xi and I had a very good relationship until COVID. And I held him responsible for COVID. It broke up our relationship. But I think we're going to have a great relationship. And I think it's going to be mutually beneficial. But we cannot have it where China is taking advantage of the United States. And that's what they were doing, as you very well know. Yes, please.
Mr. President, you just said that it was a peaceful transfer of power last time when you left office. You didn't concede. January 6th was a violent attack. How was that a peaceful transfer of power?
What's your question?
My question is, you think that last time there was a peaceful transfer of power when you left office?
No, I think the people that, if you look at January 6th, which a lot of people aren't talking about very much, I think those people were treated very harshly. When you compare them to other things that took place in this country where a lot of people were killed, nobody was killed on January 6th. But I think that the people of January 6th were treated very unfairly. And they were there to complain, not through me, they were there to complain about an election. And, you know, it's very interesting. The biggest crowd I've ever spoken to, and I said peacefully and patriotically, which nobody wants to say, but I said peacefully and patriotically. The biggest crowd I've ever spoken to, and you've seen, Maggie, I was at the mall, I was at the Washington Monument, I was at the whole thing. I had crowds, I don't know who's ever had a bigger crowd than I have, but I had it many times. The biggest crowd I've ever spoken before was that day. And I'll tell you, it's very hard to find a picture of that crowd. You see the picture of a small number of people relatively going to the Capitol, but you never see the picture of the crowd. The biggest crowd I've ever spoken, I've spoken to the biggest crowds. Nobody's spoken to crowds bigger than me. If you look at Martin Luther King, when he did his speech, his great speech, and you look at ours, same real estate, same everything, same number of people, if not, we had more. And they said he had 1 million people, but I had 25,000 people. But when you look at the exact same picture, and everything's the same because it was the fountains, the whole thing, all the way back to from Lincoln to Washington, and you look at it, and you look at the picture of his crowd, my crowd, we actually had more people. They said I had 25,000, and he had 1 million people, and I'm okay with it because I liked Dr. Martin Luther King. Yeah, please.
President Trump, you've said repeatedly on Truth Social that it was unconstitutional for the Democrats to replace President Biden with Vice President Harris as their candidate. Can you explain your constitutional analysis? Which part of the Constitution did they violate?
We have a Constitution. It's a very important document, and we live by it. She has no votes, and I'm very happy to run against her. I'm not complaining from that standpoint. And I hate to be defending him, but he did not want to leave. He wanted to see if he could win. They said, you're not going to win. After the debate, they said, you're not going to win. You can't win. You're out. And at first they said it nicely, and he wasn't leaving. And then you know it better than anybody. Wait a minute. So when you think about it, they said at first they were going to go out to another vote. They were going to go through a primary system, a quick primary system, which it would have to be. And then it all disappeared, and they just picked a person that was the first out. She was the first loser, okay? So we call her the first loser. She was the first loser when during the primary system. During the Democrat primary system, she was the first one to quit, and she quit. She had no votes, no support, and she was a bad debater, by the way, very bad debater. And that's not the thing I'm looking forward to, but she was a bad debater. She did obviously a bad job. She never made it to Iowa. Then for some reason, and I know he regrets it, you do too, he picked her, and she turned on him too. She was working with the people that wanted him out. But the fact that you can get no votes, lose in the primary system, in other words, you had 14 or 15 people, she was the first one out, and that you can then be picked to run for president, it seems to me actually unconstitutional. Perhaps it's not. Please.
Now I've had a couple of weeks to watch Vice President Harris' campaign. You run against Hillary Clinton, you ran against Joe Biden. Are there any ways that you see her as a more challenging opponent than those other two?
So I've run against Hillary, and I've run against various other people. I would say that in terms of intelligence, Hillary was far superior. I would say that. Hillary was smart. She was her own worst enemy in many ways, but she was smart, very smart. Okay? If you ask me to compare them. Please.
President, you staked out the position on abortion that was probably more popular with general election voters than many of your Republican primary opponents did. Leave it to the states. Given that that's your position, how do you plan to vote in Florida's abortion ballot referendum this fall? Would you support?
Would you repeat that question, please?
I can speak up.
You have to speak up.
Yes, sir. I said
it's a hard room because it's very big, if you know. This is worth $18 million. Oh, I see.
I said you staked out a position on abortion that was probably more popular with general election voters than many of your Republican rivals in the primary did. You said leave it to the states. Given that Florida is a state voting on that this fall, how do you plan to vote? Do you plan to support?
So I think the abortion issue has been very much tempered down, and I've answered, I think, very well in the debate, and it seems to be much less of an issue, especially for those where they have the exceptions, as you know. And I think it's when I look for 52 years, they wanted to bring abortion back to the states. They wanted to get rid of Roe v. Wade, and that's Democrats, Republicans, and independents, and everybody, liberals, conservatives, everybody wanted it back in the states, and I did that. Now the states are voting, and frankly, some of the votes are much more, if you could say, liberal than you would think. Ohio turned out to be, they had a big vote, and it turned out to be a much more liberal standing than people would have thought. Kansas, the same thing, and then you have Texas, and you have other places where it may be different. But the issue has been brought back to the states now. And like Ronald Reagan, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly. I think that that's a very important thing. I think when you have to follow your heart. But when you don't believe in the exceptions, I think it's much tougher. It's a much tougher issue. But about 82% of Republicans do believe in exceptions. I think and a lot of them are changing their mind and coming even further. I think that abortion has become much less of an issue. It's a very small, I think it's actually going to be a very small issue. What I've done is I've done what every Democrat and every Republican wanted to have done, and we brought that issue back to the states. And now the states are voting on it. And frankly, some of the votes are a lot different than people would have thought. But it's the vote of the people is taking care of it. And, you know, when you think about the radical, the Democrats are really the radical ones on this because they're allowed to do abortion on the 8th and 9th month and even after birth. If you look at your new governor from Minnesota, he's like the governor previous, the former governor. I don't want to get him mixed up because Glenn is doing a good job and he's leading our whole campaign in Virginia, Glenn Youngkin. But previous to Glenn, the governor, he said, the baby will be born, we will put the baby aside, and we will decide with the mother what we're going to do. In other words, whether or not we're going to kill the baby. The Minnesota gentleman, this guy agrees with that. He is the most liberal. Look, between her and him, there's never been anything like this. There's never been a combination so, I'll use the word progressive. You know, they want to go progressive. They don't like the word liberal. I like liberal better. I think it's more appropriate because nobody knows what progressive means. But they now like to use the word progressive. But there's certainly never been anybody so liberal like these two, or even close. I think the abortion issue has been taken down many notches. I don't think it's a big factor anymore, really. And when people hear what I said in the debate, and I think I said it very well during the debate, we brought it back to the states. Everybody wanted it in the states. And very importantly, and you think about this, assuming you have exceptions. If you don't have exceptions, it's a more difficult thing. At the same time, there are people that strongly feel that way, and you have to follow your heart, and you should follow your heart. But that issue is very much subdued. Yeah, thank you.
Mr. President, I want to ask you about the assassination attempt.
About who?
About the assassination attempt.
Yes.
Did the fact that somebody used an AR-15 gun at all change your impression of people's access to that weapon?
No, I didn't. Look, if you take away guns, she wants to take away everyone's gun. If you take away guns, you can't do it because people need the guns for protection. Now, entertainment, they want it. Hunting, they would, different things. But They need weapons for protection in this country. People live out in the woods and they're not going to have a gun. If you look at some countries, I don't want to get them in trouble, but some countries have actually gone the opposite way. They had very strong gun laws, and now they have gone the opposite way, where they allowed people to have guns, where in one case they encouraged people to go out and get guns, and crime is down 29%. And remember this, what is the toughest gun law in the United States? Chicago. On July 4th, 117 people were shot and 17 died. The toughest gun laws in the United States are in the city of Chicago. You know that. They had 117 people shot. Afghanistan does not have that. Afghanistan, by the way, was the lowest point in the history of our country, in my opinion. That was the worst embarrassment to the history of this country, and I say Putin would not have gone into Ukraine if that didn't happen. When he saw the incompetence of Milley and all these guys that are incompetent, when he saw that happen, when they took out the soldiers first, they took out the soldiers first. You know, if you go back and check your records, for 18 months, I had a talk with Abdul. Abdul was the leader of the Taliban, still is. But I had a strong talk with him. For 18 months, not one American soldier was shot at or killed, but not even shot at. 18 months, and then we had the disaster of the lift, where people were falling off airplanes from 3 times the height of the World Trade Center. I mean, terrible. But now our country has to be respected again. Please. Go ahead, please.
There was some reporting, I think, in the New York Times that Kamala Harris said she might be open to the idea of a weapons embargo against Israel. I wonder if you can comment on that, what that means, what it might mean.
I'd be against that. That Kamala is in favor of not giving Israel weapons?
Yes, that's what
That's what I hear. Look, she's been very, very bad to Israel, and she's been very bad to Jewish people. And I say it, if anybody I know is Jewish and they would vote for Kamala over me, they should have their head examined. If you think about it, I gave them Golan Heights. I gave them the capital of Israel, Jerusalem. I even built the embassy. I gave them no Iran deal. The problem is they didn't do anything with it. Iran was broke. We could have made a deal so easily. I would have had a deal done within 1 week after the election with Iran. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. We would have gotten along with Iran. I was looking forward to it. I was fine with Iran. You know, we hit them a couple of times pretty hard, but we would have been fine with Iran. But I terminated that deal. I got them the Abraham Accords. Everyone said that's impossible. I got them the Abraham Accords. She's been very, very bad to Israel, and she's been very bad and disrespectful to Jewish people. And any Jewish person that votes for Kamala and her friend, her new friend, who I don't know if she knew him before, but I don't think he's too good. But anybody that votes for them, if you're Jewish or if you love Israel, you have to have your head examined. Go ahead, please.
There's been very little information about the shooter, Matthew Crooks, and I was wondering if the FBI and the Secret Service are doing a decent job.
They have. The FBI came to see me about the shooter. I think they've done a very good job. And I think they did a very good job with respect to this other lunatic that they have in custody. Please.
Mr. President, there's been some discussion around Vice President Harris's relationship with Willie Brown,
Yeah.
former mayor of San Francisco, and how that might have intersected with her career trajectory. So I'm just wondering if you followed that discussion at all and had any thoughts on it.
Well, I know Willie Brown very well. In fact, I went down in a helicopter with him. We thought maybe this is the end. We were in a helicopter going to a certain location together, and there was an emergency landing. This was not a pleasant landing, and Willie was, he was a little concerned. So I know him pretty well. I mean, I haven't seen him in years. But he told me terrible things about her. But this is what you're telling me anyway, I guess. But he had a big part in what happened with Kamala. But I don't know, maybe he's changed his tune, but he was not a fan of hers very much at that point.
Mr. President, do you believe Vice President Harris would certify your election victory if you win?
Yeah, I do.
Mr. President, Mr. President.
Go ahead.
How are you planning to vote on Florida's abortion referendum?
On what?
How are you planning to vote on Florida's abortion referendum this November?
Well, I'm going to announce that. I'm going to actually have a press conference on that at some point in the near future, so I don't want to tell you now. But Florida does have a vote coming up on that, and I think probably the vote will go in a little more liberal way than people thought. But I'll be announcing that at the appropriate time. Please.
Mr. President, your tax cuts from your administration will be coming up, fairly soon and potentially expiring. I wanted to ask you specifically about the tax code favoring parents versus people who don't have children. There are a number of tax breaks for parents.
Oh, we gave tremendous for child care and all of that. No, our tax cuts, which are the biggest in history, our tax cuts are coming due, as you know, very soon. And if the Democrats don't renew them or make it impossible to renew because it's pretty close in terms of vote, if they don't renew them, it's the equivalent of having a 4 times tax increase from what you have right now, and it'll destroy the economy. I think they're under tremendous pressure to do it. I've never seen, all my life I grow up and I watch politics, and I used to be on the other side of politics first, and then I run for office. But in all the years of studying politics, I've never seen people get elected by saying, we're going to give you a tax increase. These guys get up, think of it. We're going to give you no security. We're going to give you a weak military. We're going to give you no walls, no borders, no anything. All these things they're doing. I mean, the transgender became such a big thing. But they do all of these things, but they always say, we're going to give you a tax increase. I never heard anybody campaign on a tax increase. A politician has always said, I will cut taxes. I'll give you one example, Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. I am going to leave Social Security. I'm not raising the years. I'm not raising the age. I will be saving Social Security, and I'm going to work it out that there's no tax on Social Security for seniors. I'm also doing no tax on tips. No tax on tips. So waiters, waitresses, caddies, people that drive cars, people that get tips who have been harassed by this government, we're going to have no tax on tips. That's a big thing.
Do you believe that the imprisonment of Steve Bannon was politically motivated?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Sure.
Mr. President.
Because other people have done far bigger things than Steve Bannon. Sure, it's politically motivated. I think it's a horrible thing they did. Look, they've weaponized government against me. Look at the Florida case. It was a totally weaponized case. All of these cases, by the way, the New York cases are totally controlled out of the Department of Justice. They sent their top person to the various places. They went to the AG's office, got that one going. Then he went to the DA's office, got that one going, ran through it. No, this is all politics, and it's a disgrace. Never happened in this country. It's very common that it happens, but not in our country. It happens in banana republics and third world countries, and that's what we're becoming. We have no borders. We have bad voting regulations. Anytime you have mail-in ballots, you're going to have problems. France learned that lesson. France had all mail-in voting, and they went back to paper ballots, voter identification, voter ID. They went back to a normal system, one-day voting. They don't want to be around, voting for 64 days. And look, the election, I keep talking about November 5th, but the election really starts on September 6th. That's when it starts because it's early voting. We should have one-day voting. We should have paper ballots. We should have voter ID, and we should have proof of citizenship. Please. No, the gentleman in back.
Mr. President, do you support continuation of tax credits for EVs? And
for who?
For electric vehicles, do you support the continuation of tax
You're going to have to talk louder, sir.
Do you support continuation of tax credits for EVs? And secondly, what sort of political or policy advice does Elon Musk give you?
Elon is a very different kind of a guy. He's a very big believer in the country, but he's very worried about the country. He's very worried about the country. And I don't know if it's good for him politically to have supported me, although I think we have a vast majority of this country does support me. But Elon, more than almost anybody I know, I mean, he loves this country. He loves the concept of the country. But like me, he says this country is in big trouble. It's in tremendous danger. Okay, please.
Polls suggest overwhelmingly that Americans trust you more than Kamala Harris to fix the U.S. economy.
I like this guy. I like him.
What message do you have to Americans, sir, who are struggling to pay for everyday lives, such as groceries, rent?
The polls have suggested. There are some polls that say we're going to win in a landslide. People are voting with their stomachs, meaning They're going to the grocery store. They're paying 50, 60, 70% more for food than they did just a couple of years ago. Look at what's happened to energy. Look at what's happened not only to their cars, where gasoline's gone from $1.87, $1.87, and we had moments when it was below that, but it's gone from $1.87 to $5, $6, and $7. And they take the strategic national reserves and they take it out, even though it's peanuts compared, it doesn't last long. But they're virtually empty now. We've never had it this low. And he's using that to keep the gasoline prices as low as possible. He's sucked all of the oil out, essentially the gasoline, to keep the price down a little bit, and it's had very little impact. But you know what? We have no strategic national reserves now. He's emptied it. It's almost empty. It's never been this low. And I had it at a good level, and I would have had it more if the Democrats would have approved the deal. You know, I had a deal to buy it at $22 a barrel, and now it's going to be close to 100 pretty soon, my opinion. And the Democrats didn't want to do that, but we bought a lot anyway. And we had it pretty good. And what they've done to the national reserves, the strategic national reserves, is, as you know very well, because you cover it, but what they've done is incredible. They've just, for the sake of getting some votes, for the sake of having gasoline, you know, that's meant for wars. It's meant for, like, tragedy. It's not meant to keep a gasoline price down so that somebody can vote for Biden, or in this case, Kamala, who, by the way, is worse than Biden. And she's actually not as smart, okay? She's actually not as smart. That's hard to believe, isn't it? Yeah, please.
Can I have a political question, but I want to ask a follow-up to one of the abortion questions.
Okay.
There are other things the federal government could do, not just a ban. Would you direct your FDA, for example, to revoke access to mifepristone? That's one of the things
Sure,
that's been discussed.
you could do things that would supplement, absolutely. And those things are pretty open and humane. But you have to be able to have a vote, and all I want to do is give everybody a vote. And the votes are taking place right now as we speak.
That's something you would
but it's
consider?
there are many things on a humane basis that you can do outside of that, but you also have to give a vote, and the people are going to have to decide.
That's a political question.
Okay, yes,
you
please.
Said you think Kamala Harris is worse than President Biden?
On
I know
what?
you said you think you're very
No, I
far
think
ahead.
she's actually not as smart as he is.
Well, you said you think you're very far
I don't think
ahead
he's
of
very
the polls.
smart either, by the
I know
way.
you
I'm not a
said-
big fan of his brain, but I think that she's actually not as smart as he is.
To what do you attribute her rising in the polls? It's becoming a more competitive race since she's taken over for Biden.
Well, she's a woman. She represents certain groups of people, but I will say this. When people find out about her, I think she'll be much less. And I see it right now. I see her going way down in the polls now. Now that people are finding out that she destroyed San Francisco, she destroyed the state of California along with Governor Gavin Newsom. Well, he's been a terrible governor, terrible. But they did it together. And she was early. I mean, she was the first of the prosecutors, really. You know, now you see Philadelphia, you see Los Angeles, you see New York, you see various people that are very bad. But she was the first of the bad prosecutors. She was early.
Mr. President? You commit to your White House having daily press briefings?
Who?
With your White House doing daily press briefings, you commit to that?
Would you repeat that, please?
Your White House.
No, you. Would you repeat her, what she said? You have to speak up. This room is very
When you're
louder.
elected, will you commit to your White House doing daily press briefings?
Do you hear her?
Will you commit to doing daily press briefings if you're elected?
Daily press briefing? Why would I do that? I would give you all the press briefings you want. Look what I'm doing here. But why would I do a daily press? You'd get tired of me very fast. No, but I will give you total access, and you'll have a lot of press briefings, and you'll have from me. Now, are you talking about from me or from a press secretary? Well, yeah, probably they'll do something. If it's not daily, it's going to be a lot. You'll have more than you want.
Mr. President.
Yeah, please.
President Biden is now not to pardon his son Hunter, who is now a convicted felon and facing more felony charges in his upcoming trial for alleged tax evasion. Would you consider granting clemency or a pardon?
I don't think it's appropriate for me to talk about it. I think it's a tragic story. You want to know the truth. And I felt that with Hillary Clinton, too. You know, with Hillary Clinton, I could have done things to her that would have made your head spin. I thought it was a very bad thing. Take the wife of a president of the United States and put her in jail. And then I see the way they treat me. That's the way it goes. But I was very protective of her. Nobody would understand that, but I was. I think my people understand it. They used to say, lock her up, and I'd say, just relax, please. We won the election. I think it would be I think it would have been horrible for our country and we had her between the hammering of all of the files. And don't forget, she got a subpoena from the United States Congress. And then, after getting the subpoena, she destroyed everything that she was supposed to get. I thought it was so bad to take her and put her in jail, the wife of a president of the United States, and then when it's my turn, nobody thinks that way. I thought it was a very terrible thing. And she did a lot of very bad things. I'll tell you what, she was pretty evil. But in terms of the country and in terms of unifying the country, bringing it back, to have taken her and to have put her in jail, and I think you know the things as well as I do. There were some pretty bad acts that she did. I think it would have been very bad for our country. And a lot of my people, a lot of the MAGA, as they call them, but the base. And I think the base is 75% of the country, far beyond the Republican Party, because we're a party of common sense, and I'm a person of common sense. I want to have low taxes. I want to have strong borders. I want to have a strong military so that China and Russia, look, they've allowed China and Russia to do the impossible combined. They're natural enemies. They always have been, because China needs more land and Russia has it. They've always been natural enemies, and because of Obama, it started with him, and then Biden, because he didn't know what the hell he was doing, they've now become one force. And then now they're adding Iran to it, and they're adding North Korea to it. Pretty powerful force. This is something that is unthinkable that they allowed to happen. Oh, it's going to end. The honeymoon period's going to end. Look, she's got a little period. She's got a convention coming up. It's about policy. It's not about her. I think she's incompetent because I've watched her. She destroyed California. She destroyed San Francisco. Everything she's touched has turned to bad things. I'm not going to use foul language, but everything she's touched has turned bad. She's incompetent. The reason she's not doing what I do, and she's not doing what she should be doing, she won't even do interviews with friendly people because she can't do better than Biden. Now, he had a reason for not doing well, and he was never, 25 years ago, the sharpest or brightest bulb in the ceiling. That I can tell you, okay? He wasn't. But he could do interviews at least. Not lately, he couldn't, perhaps. But she should be doing interviews. She doesn't want to do interviews. And the reason she doesn't is, number one, her policies are so bad. Just to answer your question, I think that it's not going to change because it's really ultimately not about her as much as about her policies. She wants open borders. She wants to defund the police. She wants to defund the police. She wants to take away your guns. Anybody that thinks they're not going to come after your guns, you know, when I was president, I totally protected the guns. And I think it's very important. And I know I take some heat sometimes for it, but you have to have safety. You have to have, when the bad guy walks in with a gun, you got to have some way of protecting yourself. And boy, that would be, you would see crime go up at levels that you've never seen. When people say on this side of the house, this house has guns, we will use the guns, they say, let's pass. We'll go someplace else. You have to have them. And for 4 years, and you know, as you know, the NRA endorsed me very powerfully every time I ran, every time. My sons are members, and I guess indirectly I'm a member too. But they gave me the strongest of endorsements, and that's against very strong competition. People that felt the same way. No, you have to have that right. Our Second Amendment is a very important right, and it has to be protected. Okay, how about you? Go ahead.
Predicting a 1929-style depression globally. Yeah. Can you tell us more about the specific signs you're seeing and what policies?
So there are some of the most brilliant people on Wall Street that are saying that if President Trump doesn't win, you're going to have a depression. I happen to agree. I think that's true. Because I know how bad these people are. You know, they like to say that they did this and that. You saw the $7 trillion that they said, it was me for $7 trillion. It wasn't me. It was them. They said that I had inflation. They took over 9% inflation. No, I had 1% inflation. I had actually no inflation because if you look at the categories, we had just about no inflation. But I had a very minor, I actually had a positive inflation. It was a perfect number because you don't want zero. I mean, I'm not going to give you a whole course on economics, but you don't want zero. 1%, 1.4% is great. You want a little bit because you don't want to have deflation. Deflation is, in many ways, even worse. I had a perfect number right around the 1% number. It was perfect. And to show you, it stayed there for 2 years. And then he did all of the different borrowings that he did. And then he did so many things wrong. Every time he would do it, I'd say, big mistake. And don't forget, they sell hats and they sell stories. Trump was right about everything. I have been right about a lot. Yes, Maggie.
I have a question for you. When you were president, you pardoned high-level drug dealers, you pardoned violent felons, including one man who had allegedly told a rabbi he would make him bleed. How is that different than what you're saying?
Well, we had a commission like other people do, and it's always complicated and it's always controversial. And we had commissions that, and I think of respected people, you know many of the people on the commission, and they would recommend to me certain pardons for certain people. Some people were treated very harshly. A fantastic woman, as you know, she served 24 years for being on a phone call having to do with drugs. You know who I'm talking about. She was great. And she had another 24 years to go. And it was largely about marijuana, which in many cases is now legalized, okay? But we had many very highly regarded people on a commission, and they'd recommend, and they'd put a reason why. Some people were, served time, but they served a lot of time for something that today people wouldn't even serve time by. Well, for the most part, I think they did. I mean, they did. They go through. They went through. I had a commission. It was a very important commission to me, and highly respected people. And frankly, they came up with some decisions that I wouldn't necessarily agree with, but I did it. But I let a lot of people out that had no representation. I went to people in jails, in prison that we respected. I said, how many of these people should be let out? We let out large groups of low-income people that were serving like 40 years for something that today you wouldn't even be put in jail for. We had very few people let out because I said I really don't want to let people out where they had a lot of violence, where they had killing, et cetera, et cetera. And for the most part, we didn't do that. Yeah, please.
President, regarding the Fed, if you win in November, do you want more of a say over the Fed on issues like the interest rate? And do you think that you can manage over the Federal Reserve? And do you think that you can manage a soft landing in the economy given with the current leadership in place?
Right. Well, look. The Federal Reserve is a very interesting thing, and it's sort of gotten it wrong a lot. And he's tending to be a little bit late on things. He gets a little bit too early and a little bit too late. And, that's very largely it's a gut feeling. I believe it's really a gut feeling. And I used to have it out with him. I had it out with him a couple of times very strongly. I fought him very hard. And, we get along fine. We get along fine. But I feel the president should have at least say in there. Yeah, I feel that strongly. I think that in my case, I made a lot of money. I was very successful. And I think I have a better instinct than, in many cases, people that would be on the Federal Reserve or the chairman. Yeah.
You just mentioned people going to prison for marijuana.
Yeah.
Harris supports rescheduling marijuana and also says that no one should go to prison for a marijuana offense. Do you agree with those positions?
Well, as we legalize it, I start to agree a lot more because, it's being legalized all over the country. Florida has something coming up. I'll be making a statement about that fairly soon. But as we legalize it throughout the country, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, it's awfully hard to have people all over the jails that are in jail right now for something that's legal. So I think, obviously, there's a lot of sentiment to doing that. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, Kamala Harris's father is Jamaican-American, and she went to a historically black college. How is she only recently deciding to be black?
Well, you'll have to ask her that question because she's the one that said it. I didn't say it. So you'll have to ask her, and I very much appreciate that question, but you'll have to ask her. But I've known her for a long time, I actually contributed to her campaign a long time ago because I was a developer. I contributed to lots of campaigns of Democrats, Republicans, and some were liberal and some were conservative. But you'll have to ask her about that. But to me, it doesn't matter. But to her, from her standpoint, I think it's very disrespectful to both, really. Whether it's Indian or black, I think it's very disrespectful to both. To me, it doesn't matter.
Why bring it up? Why bring it up?
Red dress.
One in the assassination, is your ear fully recovered? Is there a scar? Do you have any hearing damage from that?
Pretty much recovered, yeah. I'm a fast healer. It's a hell of a shot, but I'm a fast healer. Yeah, pretty much recovered.
Hearing damage from it?
No, it didn't hit that. I got very lucky. It just hit the lobe, as they call it.
Is there a scar on your ear?
Yeah, a little bit, not much. On top.
On immigration?
A little bit.
An immigration question. You've been running on the idea of mass deportations. You say the biggest in American history is basically what you want. When Senator Vance has been asked about that, he sort of suggested that really you only mean to go after people who've been convicted of crimes.
Well, we're starting with.
So, okay, so what are you really talking about here? How will you pay for it? And do you think you can pass something like that through Congress?
The largest mass deportation in the history of our country because we have no choice. It's not sustainable. And we are going to start with violent criminals, and we're going to start then with criminals. And our local police is going to work with us because they know everything about the people. They know their names. They know everything about them. They know their middle name. They know their numbers. And as you know, the other side is trying. Look, for years I wondered, why are they allowing these people to come in at levels like this? It was incredible. And I said two reasons. They're either really stupid, and I don't believe they're stupid, because anybody that can cheat in elections like they cheat is not stupid. Or, in the alternative, they have bad motives or they hate our country. And I used to think they hate our country. But lately I've seen where they're trying to sign these people up to vote. And they have to stop. They cannot let illegal immigrants vote in this upcoming election. All right, one more question.
Mr. President, on healing.
Go ahead, one more. Make it a good one, please.
Okay, regarding Social Security taxes for seniors, which we've talked about a while, experts say that the policy could increase the deficit by $1.6 trillion. So how would it work in your view?
We have so many ways of making money in this country. We're not going to affect our Social Security. We're not changing it. And I proved that over 4 years. And we're going to do it. It's very unfair to people. They spend their life and they're great citizens and they pay in. We're not going to charge tax to Social Security, the seniors. We're not going to do it. We're not going to charge. And also tax. I say the two things. We're going to have no tax on seniors, Social Security, and we're going to have no tax on tips. Very simple. And we are a country that has so many different ways to make money. We have under our feet more liquid gold, I call it oil, and gas, than any country in the world, much more than Saudi Arabia, much more than Russia. We have so many different ways we can make money. We're not going to hurt our seniors with Social Security, and we're not going to charge them tax. Okay?
Can I squeeze one in on this real? Mr. President.
Do you plan on follow-up? If sanctuary cities or municipalities are unwilling to cooperate, how do you plan to enforce that?
We should not have sanctuary cities. Sanctuary cities is a way of protecting criminals, and we should not have sanctuary cities. And if you go to California, and I know it well, I have property out there, great property. If you go to California and you ask the people of California, do they like the idea of sanctuary cities? They don't like it. They're tired of it. They're tired of crime. They're tired of what's happened to our country. Our country's become a crime-ridden mess, and we're going to stop it on November 5th. Thank you very much, everybody.
Donald Trump speaking at a press conference that went an hour straight. He started, what would you say, Ryan? Maybe gave like 8 minutes of commentary?
It was about 2:07, so I would say he did maybe 8 to 10 minutes of, I'd say in quotations, prepared remarks from him. And
then he said, all right, any of you have any questions? And 50 minutes later, he just wrapped.
Yeah. So obviously, no note cards. He wasn't calling on reporters who had been pre-approved. I did think the questions that were asked were good questions. And he got a chance to answer all of them.
I have appreciated the fact that Donald Trump is always willing to talk to the press, and he has his Trumpian way. People will say that it's his ego that drives him to do that. Well, I don't think that the accusation that Kamala Harris has no ego is really a fair comparison here. They're both people who have big egos, and what Donald Trump does is he goes to the media and says, let me have it. And what Kamala Harris does is goes in the back room to the media and say, take care of it for me. And that's the status quo so far. There have been many criticisms mounting from people, of course, from the Trump campaign and also from within the press. Specifically, we see a lot of it from people on Fox News talking about Kamala Harris. She hasn't answered a single question, a single unscripted moment since she has announced her candidacy or since she was coronated as the nominee for the Democratic Party. She has not had to answer any tough questions since she's been the person. And there's been criticisms of that surrounding her. I think that they've gotten a little more elevated as the Republican Party, the RNC, Donald Trump, and some Republican pundits have amplified those criticisms of Kamala Harris. I think it's gotten loud enough that the left is having to do something about that. And what is a major power move on Donald Trump's part to be at Mar-a-Lago, to set up this press conference and to say some things and then go, ask me anything. And I mean, these reporters that were there, in my opinion, there were multiple questions that were asked to put the ball on the tee for Donald Trump to sink his own ship, to respond in a way that is exactly what Kamala Harris needs to have happen. And it's not exactly the stupidest strategy for Kamala Harris to continue with scripted appearances, if she's allowed to get away with it, and wait for Donald Trump to stick his foot in his mouth so that at the next scripted appearance, she can cite something that Donald Trump said when he was, firing off answers to reporters that in some cases hate his guts. I understand that strategy. That is a strategy that is 100% centered around power seeking, not about actually representing you in the office that she wants to win from your vote. I actually thought that Donald Trump did an A+ job at this press conference. The only thing I would criticize about it is maybe if you're going to host the press conference at your actual house and home in Mar-a-Lago, make it be in a room where you can hear the questions coming from the reporters. There was actually a time where the question from where we were, obviously we're consuming everything through audio channels and microphones and so on and so forth, but we actually we got the off-air alert because the questions were so quiet. So if they're passing around microphones, generally speaking, how this works is questions will be asked on a microphone. They'll have 2 or 3 microphones that'll get handed around, and then you speak into the microphone, and then the person can hear the answer or the question and provide the answer. If that system isn't set up in a functional way, it would be hard for the person who's answering the questions. That I think that is going to be the takeaway from the left-leaning media. They're not going to be talking about the policies that Donald Trump talked about or the policies that Donald Trump criticized about Kamala Harris. They're going to say that he's a 78-year-old man that can't hear.
Well, you also, though, if they start to make that comparison, because he has had some audio trouble at the last couple of conferences he did. The National Black Journalists Association was the same deal. So I don't know if, and look, I think this is a question worth asking. I don't know that this is the answer to that question, but he just got shot in the ear. Is that affecting his hearing at all? I don't know.
That's a really good question. I don't know how much, I don't know what that would sound like.
I don't either.
And I think, I haven't heard anything that it affects his hearing, but.
Yeah, I don't know. But I thought the same thing as you. He did address that Kamala is not talking to the media, but he addressed it in a bigger way by just doing the news conference itself and going as long as he wanted to go. The reporters will go forever. So he went over an hour to make that point. Fox News is right afterwards making that same point. They're saying, look, he just answered questions for an hour, completely unscripted. Where's Kamala Harris? That is the point that needs to be made right now because she is so weak on that, on those grounds.
Doug says on our YouTube page, we had a lot of lively conversation going with people who love him and hate him right there on the Annie Fry YouTube channel while we were listening for that hour. And Doug said, I hated his unscripted meandering opening. His Q&A with the press was the better portion of that. And I think to Doug's point on that issue, that there are certainly tendencies that Donald Trump has that are harder to listen to, but that double-edged sword is Donald Trump is willing to go up there and not read off of a teleprompter in a super polished. I mean, it's like if you had, who's your favorite actress? Who's the most beautiful? Who's your favorite actress?
Oh, Elizabeth Shue.
Elizabeth Shue?
She's gorgeous.
Okay. If Elizabeth, and she's a good actress, great actress?
I would say she's good, yes.
She's good. If Elizabeth Shue walked up to you, and do you think that she could make you believe that she thought you were the most handsome person
I sure hope so.
she ever met?
Yeah, I'll assume that she could do that.
Yeah. I mean, that's because she's, well, not that you're not the most handsome person ever, whatever.
Thank you.
Got to check out the Annie Fry YouTube channel to find out.
Please do.
People who are good at their craft can make you believe anything. And politicians, good politicians, have to have the ability to make you believe something or believe in something. And Donald Trump is not a politician. Yes, he's become a politician, but that's not where he comes from. He hasn't adapted the super polished Barack Obama, Governor Shapiro type of delivery that makes people feel comfortable. Like, if the world is falling down outside of you, or if you're in the middle, let's just make it more simple. If you're in the middle of a storm and you know there are tornadoes all around you, you could be tucked into bed. You ever tuck your kid into bed when the storms are happening and you're like, everything's fine, everything's okay. You tuck them in and you like give them all of the benefit of the doubt that everything is going to be fine. But then you go back and you make sure you watch the radar for like the next 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Americans just want to be tucked into bed. And a lot of other Americans right now are going, it's an F5 and it's coming right at us. We got to pay attention. We've got to prepare for this. We've got to do something about this to make sure that we make it through this. And Donald Trump is willing to talk about the F5 that's headed right at us instead of tucking you in and, you know, turning on some light music, kissing you on your forehead and saying everything's going to be okay. And it's not as fun when you're the person on the other end of that. It's not as fun to hear, holy crap, we got to get to the basement and hunker down. It's coming right at us. It feels better to be tucked in, but we know how that can end. Let's take a quick break. We appreciate you sticking with us through that Trump presser. It was an hour long. We carried it, and hope you're able to enjoy listening to that as Donald Trump took questions at Mar-a-Lago. We'll be back after this. Don't go away.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
Ruler Foods, you find them online at rulerfoods.com, and they are the smartest place to do your grocery shopping because you're going to save money every time you do. I hear from people who have gone to Ruler Foods. Maybe you just kind of broke down and caved, or you had a little extra time and you went past when you're like, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. And you go into Ruler Foods and you tell me afterwards, you're like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have listened to you sooner. So that's my alert to you. If you do have the time to check out Ruler Foods, maybe you don't go there to do your full shopping the first time because you want to just kind of see what they have to offer. You're going to be back, I promise. Ruler Foods has wonderful savings on the goods that you put in your pantry, in your refrigerator, in your freezer every day. You can save money on that. And right now, it's never been more important to save the dollars anywhere that you can. Fresh pineapple and mangoes, 99 cents each. Save on Kroger, 80% lean ground beef sold in a 3-pound roll, $3.66 a pound. You can also save on a Heritage Farm whole fryer chicken, 99 cents a pound. Reach out to Ruler Foods. They also do delivery. Find out their latest sales, all in their advertisement, all online at rulerfoods.com.
KFTK FM Florissant. From the Under Law Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studio.
That's GetJim.com.
97.1 FM Talk. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Are you ready to smell better naked? I'm Dr. Shannon Klingman, the OBGYN creator of Lumi, the whole body deodorant that's clinically proven to control odor for 72 hours on pits, feet, privates, and beyond. It's pH optimized to safely and effectively control odor anywhere you have it, but wish you didn't. Plus, it's proven to work better than a shower with soap alone. Whether you shower twice a day or 3 times a week, Lumi works better. And who doesn't want zero body odor? With over 200,000 5-star reviews, I'm so sure you're going to love it, or you can return it for free.
There's a special offer for listeners. Use code BETTER and get 15% off your first purchase with code BETTER, like the Lumi Starter Pack, Acidified Body Wash, or new Lumi Plus Sweat Control. That's LUME Deodorant.com, code BETTER for 15% off your first purchase. Love it or return it for free. That's LUME Deodorant.com, code BETTER to save 15% today.
Hey guys, Glover here with my friends at Triton Exteriors, specifically my friend Tim Nesbitt, who is the owner. He is from the customer service business, 20 years in the restaurant business. So the answer is yes. What's the question? Anything you need. Hospitality, personal service. We're upscale. We're a James Hardy company. Roofing and siding and gutters and great value. Tim just texted me and he beat the next closest bid by $15,000 just this week. You can call 314-717-1159 or triton-stl.com.
Home values are sky high, and you have a ton of equity. Your financial advisor thinks the market is peaked. So if you're thinking about selling, it's time. Except for two things. High interest rates will burn you on a new home loan, and you're not ready to move. Savvy financial advisors suggest Truehold's new Sell and Stay program. It's ingenious because they buy your home now while its value is high, but you can stay in your home as long as you want with an easy, affordable lease. Smart, right? Truehold will make you a solid cash offer, not a lowball offer like the others. It's based on your home's current value. The cash is yours to travel, pay off bills, or secure your retirement. And again, you can stay in your home with a comfortable lease. Truehold covers property taxes, insurance, and maintenance. See how much Truehold will pay for your home today. Call 1-855-300-9993 or visit Truehold.com. The smarter, faster way to cash out your home's value without moving. That's Truehold.com.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. If you're not sure who to call for air conditioning services, contact the team at Air Comfort Service. With 55 years of experience and thousands of 5-star reviews, you can trust them with the comfort of your home. Visit aircomfortservice.com.
Save money on your next oil change with O'Reilly Auto Parts. Get a $10 gift card after rebate when you buy 5 quarts of Mobil 1 full synthetic motor oil for just $35.95. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts.
The minds and voices that shape America.
This is Brian Kilmeade here on St. Louis's home for Conservative Talk.
97.1 FM Talk.
You know what I think the theme is? Keep it here.
Stream it on the Odyssey app.
97.1 FM Talk St. Louis.
This is the Annie Fry Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
Nobody else made me feel like this, made me feel like I can't lose. Like it's warm, like it's light, like it's gonna be alright. Like the storm is gonna push on through. So I snap back every time I'm away. Like you're the lightning, I'm the thunderclap. So just give me a second, I promise I'll return. I don't ever wanna be like that. When the rainbow's gonna run, talk is gonna be. So I look back for the winter gonna creep. So I'm trying to get loose when my little boy moves and come find me.
Welcome back to the Annie Fry Show. Donald Trump just talked for an hour straight, and he did it without teleprompters. He didn't make some notes. He might have had some notes for his original 8 or 10 minutes or so of commentary, and then he took question after question after question, and they were good questions, and some of them were maybe leading questions, and I thought, was there a single time where it was like, what is he doing?
Like a journalist?
No,
or
Trump.
What is Trump doing?
Yeah.
No, he gave a couple of talking points to the left that I guarantee tomorrow or tonight you're going to see a couple of headlines like, oh, he says that dictators like him. Because he said things were better under his tenure.
We said off the air, when he's talking about Kim Jong-un, I said, I wish instead of saying like, he would say what he means, which is that Kim Jong-un respected him.
Yeah.
Because that's what he means.
Yes.
He's not wearing BFF bracelets with Kim Jong-un, I don't think.
No, and I don't think anybody looking at his 4 years would go, oh, man, he just loves North Korea. He wants us to be like North Korea.
Not at all.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And watching Donald Trump move about the world and be in control of every situation he's in, we could use some of that. Joe Biden is in Delaware on the beach somewhere right now, or at least on his way. The YouTube live chat poll for today. Does Tim Walz, he's the governor of Minnesota and the VP candidate on Kamala Harris's presidential ticket, does Tim Walz represent Midwest values to you? Yes or no? I wanted to play this clip from the media. This is a montage that Outnumbered put together today.
All-American definition of a man from middle America. High school teacher, football coach.
He has this folksy, personal, informal vibe that has really appealed to a lot of Democrats.
He's a kind of a folksy guy, very friendly, nice guy.
They're totally approachable. You get the feeling that he's got plenty of neighbors that wear MAGA hats, and he picks up their paper and brings it to their front door, and they're his friends.
Walz has an ability to be, I know one person said cuddly.
His star rising in Democratic circles in recent days after he coined a new line of attack against Republicans.
They've got a guy here who is from like central casting, like he drops out of a Norman Rockwell painting, right? He's small town America incarnate.
Their pairing is actually quite magical.
One of his friends told me this morning that his superpower is how normal he is.
I can't
Larry, I want to
get over how they look at Midwesterners.
Yeah, thank you.
Everything is about his Midwesterness. That's how they're summarizing it. And I wrote down these words, and folksy.
These
are some of the things in that little montage that Fox News put together on Outnumbered that identified him as a reason why he's accessible and a good person on the ticket, really to counterbalance everything that Kamala Harris is. And it's funny to me when you put it that way, because it's like, could you just describe what you think Kamala Harris is compared to what you think the Midwest is? Let's start here. Teachery, coach, football coach. That's an important one. So these are Midwestern values to them. Folksy, friendly, nice, approachable, out of a Norman Rockwell painting, cuddly. And all of this is to summarize in the word normal. Now, it's very important that you understand what is the opposite of normal.
Oh, I thought that was rhetorical.
No, I'm asking you.
What is the opposite of normal? If he's the guy who likes his neighbor, it would be the people who hate their neighbor based on their politics.
No, what is the opposite of normal?
Weird.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. I see now.
So you see what they're doing here. And then they're laying the groundwork of saying that one side is weird, one side is normal. You're supposed to look at Tim Walz and see yourself in it, normal America, flyover country. There are a few places that would probably enjoy seeing somebody who they can see themselves in. And maybe that might be Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, all of these places in the northern, what do they call that? The Rust Belt. I guess Wisconsin is somewhat Midwest. I think of them as being northern. I don't know. I know Wisconsinites who do consider themselves to be Midwestern, but they also kind of clarify that. The idea that Midwest is normal is an interesting thing to apply to Tim Walz when you labeled J.D. Vance from Ohio, and the word you used to summarize, which actually came from Tim Walz to begin with, is weird. So the question today is, does Tim Walz represent Midwest values to you? Because I believe that being from the Midwest should say something more than just, I mean, some of these people are even saying it out loud. Old white guy football coach. I wonder if there are any non-old white guys from the Midwest who are looking at Tim Walz going, you don't represent me at all. And for the people on the outside coast, the ones who have never actually met a Midwesterner in person, if they understand that applying Tim Walz's personality as a representation of everybody in the Midwest, it's pretty obnoxious and ridiculous.
Yeah, I saw a lot of the news stations running with a picture of, and it's a montage of pictures, but the one they land on, they keep coming back to, is a picture of him just smiling real big. He's wearing flannel, and he's cradling a baby pig.
Is it a pig or is it a butter pig?
I have no idea.
What the hell is the butter thing? The butter sculpture stuff? Have you heard him talk about that?
No.
Like one of his hobbies is butter sculpting, which again is attributed to his Midwesternness. Okay. What can you sculpt out of butter, Ryan?
I can sculpt smaller looking butter out of butter. So it'll look kind of whittled down, but it'd still be butter.
How do you like the thought of cuddly being in there? Does Tim Walz look cuddly to you?
Cuddly is a weird one. Your list was pretty good, but you missed magical on there. Magical was in there too. And I thought, magical and cuddly, they're really reaching here. And it's exactly what you said, that these are people who are not Midwesterners looking at the Midwest and going, now there's a caricature that we can run with.
That they're trying to project.
Yeah.
And the most insulting thing about this is absolutely the most insulting thing, that they're going to run through and say like how folksy, friendly, nice, and approachable he is and super cuddly, just like he's outside of a Norman Rockwell painting, totally normal, that you and I'll go, oh, just like them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Puss in Boots from Shrek. And they're like, are they talking about us? Us in the Midwest? They usually don't even pay attention to the fact that we exist. But they're talking, we're seen. We've been seen. This feels so good.
Yeah.
No. Tim Walz is like borderline, if not socialist, in his ideals and his desires and goals. Hard pass.
Well, and it's what you said yesterday, because I've seen, the minute they announced him, the RNC and whoever had a bunch of clips ready of him saying things like, well, one person's socialism is the other person's neighborliness and stuff like that. Those are clips that, to me, do say something, but they're also just a clip. Does that mean policy? But yesterday, the policy that I heard, based on the nickname, that will not go away out of my mind, and I bet a lot of people's, is the tampon thing. If this guy, his priority as governor of Minnesota, not California, of Minnesota, was to push tampons into men's rooms, then you know basically everything you need to know about his policies.
G-Wibs messaged a little bit earlier on this issue and said, Mommy, the Midwesterner followed me home. Can I keep it?
I was. Even when you were saying that, I'm picturing, how the little cartoons, they'll be like real rabbit and then they'll turn a different angle and they'll have the big cartoon eyes that are kind of watery.
Yeah.
I was picturing, well, that's what they're doing to Tim Walz.
Yes.
They're making him have cartoon eyes.
And that's not who he is at all. I asked earlier, what do you consider to be Midwestern values? Which is kind of important to define that before you ask if Tim Walz represents Midwestern values, which is what the poll question today is. Amanda said, God, family, country, loyalty, honesty. I think that sums it up. I also don't think that is, it may feel that way. It feels that way to me because I feel like the Republican side or the right side, conservative side of the aisle respects those things. But I think that there are people on the left in the Midwest who believe that voting blue is also supportive of their version of God, family, country, loyalty, honesty. So I don't think that when you list those things, I don't think that it's particularly listed in a way that is like, oh, we're just Republicans in red states. If you ever look at a map of, you can see the red states and the blue states on a 270 to win map or whatever. But if you ever look at a county map, the amount of blue areas in this country are teeny tiny, but they have tons and tons of people. Mm-hmm. 62 or 63% of the population of the state of Illinois is in Cook County. And when people are always pointing to, and rightfully so, that the politics of the state of Illinois go the way of Chicago, well, they do have the most people. So if all of those people were spread out all throughout the state and still voting the way you did, it wouldn't, the politics would still shake out the same. But you got to figure out what issues can tap into. This is something that I think it was Dory Murdoch said on our show a month or two ago. It's not about going out and winning the majority of the black vote. But Republicans have to stop thinking that it's not worth trying to get 20% instead of 10% or 25% instead of 15%. My thought that in Chicago or in St. Louis that there are people looking right now at the state of affairs in the United States going, this isn't really great. This is difficult to afford. I don't really feel safe. Do you think people in Chicago right now feel safer under Brandon Johnson's mayoralship? Is that a word?
It is now.
Mayoralty.
I like mayoralty.
I bet the Democrats do too.
Yeah, that's
sounds
good.
Like royalty. I don't think that they feel comfortable that way. I bet there are a lot of people who maybe don't vote for the Democrat on the ticket, that doesn't mean that they're going to show up and vote for the alternative. That doesn't mean they're going to be comfortable casting a ballot for a Republican, and Republicans have to show up and offer to them an alternative that they can vote for, not just against somebody. And to me, when Donald Trump shows up and starts doing press conferences like this, where the only time I would say he even sort of got hostile is when, and I didn't hear the wording on the question specifically, but the question was something related to Kamala Harris's rally that she just had. It had a ton of people there. Bon Iver, I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly, did a concert at the Kamala Harris rally. I would like to see Kamala Harris draw huge numbers without any other act, because she's not even the main act at the rallies that she's at, and she wants to be the president. They show the crowd, and then everyone's like, she's drawing huge numbers. There's so much excitement. Yes, for Megan Thee Stallion, who goes up on there on the stage, and she does her Megan Thee Stallion thing, and people love it. She's very popular. Do that without the catch, and then I would be a little more concerned about it. I don't know how concerned I am about it right now. And I actually wonder, like, how many people will show up and watch the concerts that feature Kamala Harris. How many of those people, like, you would assume that everybody who goes to a Trump rally is voting Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you?
Unless you're there to do opposition research, yeah.
99% of the people who are going and are in the crowd, maybe not the media, whatever, are going to vote for Donald Trump. But if you're going to, if you were going to a Donald Trump rally and Kid Rock was playing, it's the best example I have off the top of my head. There might be some people there who are not going to vote for Donald Trump, or maybe just not vote. But I would imagine that if you have Megan Thee Stallion, or I don't know anything about this Bon Iver guy, that was his hometown. That's like where he's from.
Yeah, and he's
That'd be
pretty
like
big.
REM coming to St. Louis to do a concert, and a politician hooks themselves to that aren't they from St. Louis? Aren't they?
Well, Michael Stipe was from Collinsville. Yeah.
Collinsville.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but I mean, like, okay, so they go to Collinsville and they do a concert there. I mean, people would show up for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bon Iver, I looked him up because, again, I didn't know who he was either. Or they. He or they. I mean, I don't even know. Big on YouTube.
Pronouns.
Has a yeah, I'm just trying to be careful. So I don't know how he'd identify.
Be respectful.
But pretty big on YouTube. Thousands and multiple, almost 1 million followers or something like that. Multiple millions on the videos. So even if they're not the biggest name, if you have a big name like that play in your hometown in a big rally, you're going to pull a crowd for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not even opposed to Kamala Harris doing it. I think it's smart politics.
Yeah.
But let's not pretend that it's apples to apples, that the Trump rally and the Kamala rally attendance is equal. It does. I'm not saying that it doesn't matter that many people showed up, but it's not the same as Donald Trump showing up with his traditional cast of characters who are all there for Trump. Trump is the main show. I've been to one Trump rally and one Trump appearance because I was at the Granite City Steel one in 2018. I don't remember. 2017. I don't know. It's different. It's not the same. The enthusiasm, and this is something that Tammy Bruce went in on hard yesterday. The enthusiasm threat that is coming from leftist talking points about the excitement around Kamala Harris is manufactured. That doesn't mean that she cannot win. But there is a lot of hype going around Kamala Harris that is cooked. So
that's 100% true. And look, maybe she does tomorrow hold a rally and gets big numbers and doesn't have a big artist playing. That's entirely possible.
Sure.
Trump has been doing these rallies for 9 years, and he's still drawing those crowds.
Huge.
So if she can sustain, I mean, she has to sustain this for 2 months, 3 months. He's been doing it for almost a decade. That does matter. The enthusiasm does matter. So could she pull it off? Absolutely. But he's got this thing long term.
Does Tim Walz represent Midwest values to you? Yes or no? We'll get Brad and Ryan and my thoughts on this next, and yours in the results of today's poll. Stick around. Morning Fry Show after this.
This is the Annie Fry Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
STS Armory, you can find them in Pontoon Beach, Illinois, the very best destination for Illinois gun owners or hopeful gun owners to make sure you can navigate that kind of complicated situation with ease. Katie and Jesse at STS Armory are your experts, and they are on your side. If you want to visit them directly, they're on South Drive in Pontoon Beach, Illinois. It's at the corner of Highway 111 and South Drive. But you can call them right now and just ask them questions that you might have. If you've been trying to find a certain firearm, if you were looking for a particular kind of ammunition, especially if you were looking for a conceal and carry class or maybe your conceal and carry renewal, reach out to STS Armory at 618-931-GUNS, 618-931-GUNS. You can ask them about any of the classes that they have, any questions you have, maybe even it's just about your FOID card, and they're going to be there to guide you through the process. 618-931-GUNS, STS-Armory.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy and founder of Wesley Financial Group, and I want to set the record straight. I am not an attorney. I've never wanted to be an attorney, and the truth is I really don't even like attorneys. If I sound like an attorney or if I look like an attorney, I'll apologize. But what I've learned in my 15 years in the timeshare cancellation business is you don't need to be an attorney to get folks out of their timeshare. At Wesley, we've helped over 40,000 families cancel their timeshare without me being an attorney. And I want to share with you how we do it. Just give my office a call, and you will not talk to an attorney. And I guarantee if we take you as a client, we'll get you out of your timeshare, or you'll pay nothing.
Call now for your free timeshare exit info kit. 800-656-1551. That's 800-656-1551. 800-656-1551.
We've been here 30 years, 30 Christmases in this house, and we have the traditions that most families have.
That's Terry talking about her experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We did Rhino Shield 14 years ago, and the house still looks the same as the first day. Rhino Shield really worked with me to help me get just the right nice soft yellow, and it's 14 years later, and it's the same color.
The main reason Terry called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by its 25-year transferable warranty.
It just sounded wonderful that we could have the house coated with Rhino Shield and not have to worry about it again for 25 years.
Take it from Terry. Give Rhino Shield a call now for a free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO or visit 877-25rhino.com.
There have been neighbors that have come by and said, "Did you just have your house painted?" Because they wanted to know who the contractor was. And I said, "No, it's actually Rhino Shield."
877-25rhino.com.
Hey homeowners, it's time to transform your house into a masterpiece with Lakeside Renovation and Design, your James Hardie siding experts. Picture this, durable, weather-resistant siding that doesn't just protect, but elevates your home's value and curb appeal. James Hardie, the gold standard in siding, installed by the pros at Lakeside. Say goodbye to maintenance headaches and hello to a home that stands the test of time. Ready for a siding upgrade? Lakeside Renovation and Design is your go-to. Visit our showroom or call today. Unleash the potential of your home with James Hardie Siding.
Hey, it's Bo Matthews for Beast Plumbing, and when it comes to the quality of your water, it is so important, not just for the taste, but for when you wash your clothes or even your hair or your skin, and bad water can affect all of your appliances. Call them today at 314-500-LEAK. That's Beast Plumbing.
Do you worry about running out of money in retirement? Discover how you can make your money last as long as you do with Your Retirement Professors. Sunday evening at 6 on KFTK, 97.1 FM Talk.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. Good afternoon. Getting set to go here on a Thursday. President Trump held a news conference a short time ago. We'll have the highlights from that. And just when you thought that journalistic malpractice could not be more extreme, here we go. I'll explain. It's all coming up.
This is the Annie Fry Show. Follow Annie on Twitter at Annie Fry Show.
Welcome back to the Annie Fry Show. We're asking you today, does Tim Walz represent Midwest values to you? Over and over and over again, we're finding out how much the folks in the media love them some Tim Walz because they literally called him cuddly.
Yeah, they did. They did. And magical.
He's like a troll or something.
Yeah. Can't get over his bridge without paying a toll.
That's actually probably accurate.
Yeah, it probably is.
And the bridge is just life. It's just whatever you're doing in life. What do you think? Does he represent Midwest values to you?
Tell you what, Annie, most of the time when I come in for the YouTube live chat poll of the day, I go, darn it, that's a pretty good question. I got a tough time answering that one.
This
one was one of the easiest ones that I've had in a while. No, I don't think Tim Walz represents Midwest values. And I happen to be from the Midwest, so I would know.
Yeah, like Collinsville.
Yeah, and it don't get more Midwest than Collinsville, other than the fact that it's in Illinois. Sorry about that.
Illinois is Midwest. What else would it be?
I know, but Illinois is like the sore thumb of the Midwest.
Why?
Because we're so blue.
Illinois is a fantastic state. The politicians
It's Cook
just...
County.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So put it on them.
I am.
Not on the state.
I love my
Put
state.
what do they say? Put some respect on that name. I hate it when people say that. What are when you say no, he doesn't represent Midwest values, what is it about him that you feel is an affront to when you hear that?
Well, there's a kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Because it's a popular American phrase, rugged individualism.
I thought you were saying je ne sais quoi.
There's a certain je ne sais quoi to
that
the Midwest.
Popular American phrase.
You get in the Midwest and you go straight north until you get to Quebec, and then you just go, je ne sais quoi.
He just keeps saying that over and over again.
They're like, oh, okay, you must be one of us.
You must be American.
It is a kind of a rugged individualism is the phrase that I was looking for, because the Midwest, and I would say even the West, not the coastal West, but the middle part of the country, exemplifies that. And we get what the Constitution was for. We get what America was founded on, I think, in a stronger way than the coasts do at this point, because the coasts are trying to remake America. The middle of America is not. The middle of America likes what America is.
And wants to get back to it. Almost, they just want to make it great again.
Yeah, they want to make it great again.
Mm-hmm.
Mega.
Brad, what about you?
No, he doesn't represent Midwestern values at all. That montage that you played of the media, not one thing that they mentioned in there was actually a value, let alone a Midwestern value. What they are calling Midwestern values are Midwestern characteristics, but they're caricaturistics. They're not actually things. It's like, hey, if I were the line about him falling right out of Central Casting, I'm like, okay, Axelrod's about on the nose right there.
Yeah.
If I were to cast whatever it was to be, quote unquote, a Midwesterner based on what the coasts would understand what a Midwesterner is, well, yeah, then Tim Walz is definitely that. But no, he doesn't respect family, because he's signed executive orders saying that he would take your kid away from you if you didn't allow your kid to change their gender. He made basically Minnesota a sanctuary state for gender transitioning, so he doesn't respect, the fact that people are people and they grow up a certain way, and no matter how they feel, they are certain things. He doesn't respect private property. He thinks that if you are upset about something, you can go burn down other people's stuff and destroy other people's stuff. That's not Midwest. That's the exact opposite of what Midwestern values are. Midwesterners have a respect for their neighbor and a respect for their neighbor's property. There's like this idea, if I borrow your truck to help me move or whatever, then I give you gas money or I fill your tank up and I make sure that I returned it in better condition than whatever I received it in. It's a respect for that neighbor's property.
This feels like a personal shot at me for when I borrowed your truck.
Listen, it was just that one time, and I'll let it slide because that's also a Midwestern value.
Blast you on the radio about it.
Yeah, indirectly.
How long ago was this?
Oh, within the last year.
Okay. So it's not something he's listening
on to. It's fresh.
That's actually not real, but one of the things he did do was I picked him up one time when it was snowing because he didn't want to drive in it or whatever, and I had some snow stuck in my tires and there was a vibration, and
That's the most beta thing I've ever heard.
He complained about the free ride.
I picked him up because it was snowing and he didn't want to drive in it.
I was standing in my front yard wearing a full snowsuit and my arms were out, and I was like, help.
I just threw him in the back of the truck.
Okay, rank them from least to most cuddly. Walz, Harris, Vance, Trump.
Least cuddly
to most cuddly.
Oh, man.
Ryan, you go first.
I hate everything about this.
Least cuddly, man. It's a tie between Trump and Harris. Neither one of them are cuddly. Donald Trump is not a cuddly guy, and he doesn't want to be. Kamala Harris does want to be and isn't. Then you got J.D. Vance and Tim Walz.
Hey, this is their word for Tim Walz, so I'm just saying we got to, fair and balanced reporting here.
J.D. Vance is also not cuddly. So between all of them,
Are they
I
right?
guess I'm going to give Walz the cuddle champion.
Is it weird? Is it weirder to think of them as cuddly if you're like thinking they're kind of into it?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
I'm going to heartily disagree with you. I think Trump is very cuddly.
Okay. All right. Explain.
Yeah, you ever see him having fun?
Yeah, but that's not cuddly. Him on the golf course having fun. I don't picture that as cuddly.
You don't think he's putting his arm around guy and giving him the little noogie on the head,
Okay,
that
so
type of stuff?
Here's where we can step in as guys and say, yeah, you can be having fun with a guy. You can be like kind of punch him a little bit. Not cuddly. And you wouldn't even want to be called cuddly.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Ryan, she's right.
Dang it, you're a guy.
You don't even drive in the snow. Don't be like us guys. I
It was
drive
a really
in the snow.
bad snow.
Brad and I, us
He's got
guys.
a big truck, and
Yeah.
I had the little car that day.
Which one?
The little one.
The little Versa?
No.
It was a Nissan Leaf.
It was not. It was a Mazda 5.
It was out of charge, wasn't it?
And it sits real low to the ground. Because I was nice, and
So
I let
does
my
your
wife
ego.
take the good car.
Yeah, that's good. You could have.
Right?
You could have driven her.
I don't remember the
You
circumstance.
could ask Brad to drive her so she was safe.
That's really treading into my territory now. if I said, honey, I cannot take you to work, but you know who can? Brad. now
I
I'm
just
now,
want what's best for you.
I mean,
Mrs.
I'll go
Wiggins.
rent a car before I do that.
What are you renting?
Probably another
Like a-
Mazda 5.
like a Hummer?
Yeah, dang it. What was I thinking? I just know that car so well.
So rank them. Cuddly?
I just did.
No, you didn't. You just said
Yeah.
that Walz was cuddly and
I
nobody
said
else was.
He's the most of the four.
Well, so basically, this entire show, I've been trashing them for how they consider Midwesterners, and at the end, you're like, he's pretty cuddly.
Well, look, there's a line of cuddly. None of them achieve it. So if it's pole vaulting, the line is like halfway up, and you don't really even have to pole vault that well to get over it. None of them are getting over it.
Least cuddly, Harris. Then probably Vance because he just looks completely disinterested, and then Walz because he wants it.
Ooh.
And Trump is the most cuddly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would agree with that. That's my thoughts exactly, actually.
The YouTube live chat poll: does Tim Walz represent Midwest values to you? This is all part of the unveiling of Tim Walz. He is getting raked over the coals for his, air quotes, stolen valor thing. Yesterday, I was watching The Five. Jessica Tarloff goes, if we're going to talk about people in their service, I just want to point out that J.D. Vance, he did serve in the Marines, but he was in PR. And he was a combat correspondent in Iraq as a United States Marine. And she threw that out there. Like that was an equivalent of Tim Walz, who found out that his company was deploying to Iraq and decided to be like, nah. That's unreal. These people have no standards.
Yeah, this is another one that I'm like, you guys, why don't you just sit there? Keep bringing that one up. I think you're doing the wrong thing.
Man.
Politically speaking.
I think I see a lot of people criticizing Donald Trump for not doing enough and saying enough and being out there enough right now. Not necessarily in person like he was today, but in advertising, in just commercials and social media stuff. I really think they're trying to like when you wring out a rag and you're trying to get all the water out, you just keep wringing it out, and eventually nothing else comes out of it, but it's still a little wet. I think they're trying to get the Harris ticket to get everything that they want to showcase and champion out at one time. Instead of feeding into it, let them have the whole thing and spew all of it out at one time. And when they're done with that, they'll come in, especially like he said today in that press conference after the convention, and start hitting it hard. Does Tim Walz represent Midwest values to you? Over 300 votes today. 77% of you said nope. And I am with the nose habit today. All right, stick around. You got Mark Reardon coming up next. If you want to listen to that press conference again, we'll have it on the Annie Fry Show podcast as well as the rest of the show. Appreciate you being here with us. Mark Reardon on 97.1 FM Talk next.
From me. I'm not America's sweetheart.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer whenever I want? Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. 94% of Sleep Number smart sleepers report better sleep. J.D. Power ranks Sleep Number #1 in customer satisfaction with mattresses purchased in-store. And now, during our biggest sale of the year, save 50% on the Sleep Number Limited Edition smart bed. Limited time. For J.D. Power 2023 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
Our daughter Jessie loves playing detective.
But since we discovered she has sensitive skin, we've been playing detective too.
We thought the problem was our puppy.
But it was actually our old detergent. So we switched to Tide Free and Gentle.
Tide Free and Gentle has no dyes or perfumes, so it's gentle on her skin.
If it's gotta be clean, it's gotta be Tide Free and Gentle. This back-to-school season, Tide and Downy are giving back with $1.5 million in scholarships. Enter to win. No purchase necessary. US/DC 17+. End September 30th. Rules. Tide.com/scholarship/official rules.
You know, you really need to be considering right now, school starting right around the corner, if not today. Charlie just went to high school today. He goes to a Lutheran high school. My kids go to Lutheran schools. I went to Lutheran schools, and this is the alternative to public education that you haven't considered yet. And I really want you to look into what a local Lutheran school can do to help you get the education that you have wanted, a great, great education with a learning environment that you've been missing. LESASTL.org/Annie, LisaSTL.org/Annie for all of the details on the Lutheran schools that are in the bi-state region. They are in Missouri, they are in Illinois, and you will be sending your child or maybe your grandchild, grandparents, I'm talking to you, make the suggestion, especially if you can maybe help financially make that switch from public education into a Lutheran school. You'll be so refreshed when you see how these kids flourish learning in Lutheran schools. I've seen it with my children. I want to see it with yours as well. LESASTL.org/Annie.
More good news for Frederick Roofing, voted best roofing company by the St. Louis Post-Dispatch.
For a hole in your roof or a whole new roof, Frederick Roofing.
314-645-2000.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
St. Louis City SC is advancing onto the knockout stage of Leagues Cup 2024. Get ready to cheer on City SC as they take on the Portland Timbers this Friday, August 9th at City Park.